completely insane, and in some extreme cases, practically giving cars away. The APA traces the outbreak of widespread hysteria to an apparent overstock of high-quality late-model cars begging to be driven off the lot today. Some severe symptoms include delusions, manic exuberance, and a psychotic commitment to offer the lowest prices guaranteed. Victims' families are joining together to raise awareness of this serious psychological epidemic.
The authorities found out how unbelievably low his prices were. They'd lock him up and throw away the key.
You are not alone. Over half of America's used car salesmen are currently going bonkers.
Car dealers suffering from this condition are prone to project their own disorders onto others. According to Mad Max, the Car Czar's website, you're out of your mind if you're not taking advantage of these low, low prices.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you're invited to join us here. Toll-free number for you, 855-450-FREE. Maybe you want to talk about secession. That's the issue that we have on the table here to start the show tonight, but also still on the way this evening. Darryl, you're going to be telling us about private police.
Yes.
They are apparently on the rise in Seattle neighborhoods. We'll get details on that story. But first, the Republicans in Texas have now officially voted, or at least the Republican executive types, the people who are running the party, whatever they call themselves, executive committee or whatever.
State executive committee is probably what they're called.
They have voted on secession, and they are rejecting secession. According to the Star Telegram at star-telegram.com, Texas secession from the U.S. won't come anytime soon, or at least the state Republican Party won't lead it. With the spirit of Texas President Sam Houston over the room, state party executives voted Saturday in Austin. This is a couple weeks ago. Just haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. Not to poll March primary voters on declaring Texas independence. So they voted to not ask their members about secession. Austin Republican Mike Goldman's voice rose as he quoted Houston's opposition to Confederate secession and implored the party's state committee to avert, quote, brother fighting brother on whether they are a Texan first or an American first, unquote. So the concern being there that if they were to move forward with supporting Texas secession, that would cause strife within the people of Texas, where they would be debating whether or not they were a Texan first or an American first.
And my understanding on this, there was a group of people that gathered signatures because Texas does have initiative and referendum.
Yep.
There was a group of people that gathered enough signatures to get this thing on a ballot, and they said, we want it on the primary ballot. And so my understanding, that vote that the state executive committee took was to say, no, they don't get to put their initiative on our ballot.
That's my understanding as well. More immediately, the vote averted a national embarrassment. The author here, Bud Kennedy, is definitely not a fan of the idea of secession. You'll get that pretty clearly here in a moment. But averted a national embarrassment with implications both in March and November. If the party had a poll on secession, that would have drawn more disenchanted independents who also support Donald Trump. Even the Houston area Tea Party activists behind the idea said it would draw out new voters. That would have hindered U.S. Senator Ted Cruz's shot at claiming more Texas delegates. Then, if the referendum passed and Cruz were on the ticket, can you imagine the campaign? Why vote for a Texas Republican? They don't even want to stay in the Union. Since 1861, Texas secession has always been a farcical idea promoted by liars, self-important patriots, and greedy merchandise peddlers. This year, it just happens to be a particularly self-destructive idea for Republicans, which must be why the Tea Party wreckers brought it up. The Great Secession Scare began Friday when a subcommittee accepted the proposal and amended the ballot wording to say that, quote, if Washington doesn't leave us alone, Texas should reassert its prior status as an independent nation, unquote. There was no discussion of how to make this assertion. Send out a tweet, sprinkle magic Rick Perry dust, send troopers to guard the Red River. Richardson Republican Carl Voitsberger, one of the few North Texas supporters for the mostly Houston area idea, said without elaborating that independence would come peacefully and politically. As Goldman and other secession opponents said during the debate, that's what the Rebs told us in 1861, too. Look, if you think secession talk is good for Texas, ask someone in Quebec. When that Canadian province started talking independence, companies scratched it off the expansion list and growth faded. I'd never heard that claim about Quebec before.
Nor have I. I am familiar with a lot of the stuff that happened in Scotland about a year ago, where the British Parliament and British monarchs said, if you secede, you can't use our money, and all of this horrible stuff will happen to you, and if you vote no, then it'll be unicorns and pixies, because we'll give you everything you want.
Did the possibility of secession drive companies away from Scotland?
Not that I'm aware of.
Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and Dallas Love Field would be devastated, says the author. Connecting flights and business travel would be gone. Who would deal with borders and customs every day? And Texas, well, maybe all the people who cross the border on a regular basis.
Right, because there are, flights that if you're in Europe and you're going from one European country to another European country, you are going to have to, change airplanes in a third country.
There are countless people who cross the border on the northern and southern border every single day. I don't know what the counts are. Maybe there's estimates from the Border Patrol, but I suspect it's in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of human beings.
Now, one thing that I will say is it will make regular travel, if you will, a little more difficult if you're on one of these airlines that has their primary hub in Texas, but most airlines have more than one hub. You can fly to Chicago instead of Dallas if you don't want to have to wind up dealing with whatever. But unless you're leaving the airport completely, you don't have to worry about borders and customs.
Now, here's the most ridiculous claim, anti-secession claim that I've heard yet. And we've talked about secession quite a bit here on Free Talk Live. The claim is Texas would still owe $1.6 trillion worth of the national debt.
What? How? What?
Yeah, can you? I don't know. I was hoping you could explain that one to me. How is it that Texas would owe $1.6 trillion of the national debt?
I have no clue. You would have to talk to the reporter to figure out how they're coming up with.
He just throws it out there. That's it. That's just one line. There's nothing to back it up. There's no citation. There's nothing at all. Look, I didn't sign up for that debt.
Maybe they're doing some sort of calculation of the $18 trillion. Okay, Texas has this percentage of the population, so therefore Texas give us $1.6 trillion.
Right, because each individual owes money because the government can put you in debt without your consent, right?
That's the claim.
I think that's ridiculous.
And if you don't like it, leave. Except for you can't just leave without giving a bunch of money and jumping through this hoop and that hoop, and you've got to have citizenship somewhere when you leave.
Well, yeah.
Otherwise, you're a stateless person, and that'll make life difficult for you.
Our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. If you want to jump in here, they say here that the Tea Party secessionists don't talk about that, says the author. Former House Majority Leader Tom DeLay is partly responsible for all of this. In 2009, he talked about how Texas legally can divide into 5 states, which they claim is true here. And
that's in the treaty that was signed when Texas was an independent nation and joined the United States. Part of the treaty was that the territory of Texas could be divided into 5 states without congressional approval.
Interesting. Well, it says here that, quote, they're not going to allow 10 new Texas senators. So that's how you secede, apparently, is what Mr. DeLay said at that time. Some Lone Star loons took that and turned it into a plan for a new Southern Christian nation. So I guess there's sort of a religious bend to some of the folks that are promoting the Texas secession. But nonetheless, I wish them the best of luck. Texas certainly has one of the most active secession movements in the United States. It was the Texas secession petition after the 2012 elections that really garnered a lot of signatures. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, the one on the petition.whitehouse.gov site.
Yeah. Where they tried to gather like 70,000. They ended up getting like 100,000 signatures asking about secession. It was one of those things where you could ask the White House a question And if you got over a certain number of signatures for the question, then they would provide a response. In this case, their response basically was, yeah, that was settled with the Civil War, suggesting essentially that we will be violent with you if you decide that you want to try seceding again. That was the suggestion there.
Right, and it's one of those things to where, oh, well, we already decided that, so therefore we can't try it again. What would have happened had the United States, the 13 colonies of the United States, lost the British Civil War? Because that's really what it was.
Yeah.
They were fighting a civil war,
movement.
a secessionist war. What would have happened had the 13 colonies lost? Would it have been settled?
Well, that's that. Guess we can never try leaving again. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. You can share your thoughts on secession. You can also bring up anything. This is Free Talk Live. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the new Healing Our World is a great gift this Christmas for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of commuting to a job that makes someone else rich? Working harder than ever, but getting nowhere? Do you hate spending hundreds of dollars every week on daycare? Having someone else raise your children? With our opportunities, you can start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss, work from home, and live a happier life. At Be the Boss Network, you'll find hundreds of work-from-home opportunities that you can literally start today and be earning money as soon as next week. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You get to be the boss. Get out of the rat race. Work from home. Go to freedom106.com right now and change your life today. That's freedom, the number 106.com. Go to freedom106.com and start earning money as soon as next week. You be the boss. Go to freedom106.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting bloc and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
You can join us here on Free Talk Live. If you want to comment, Texas secession is on the table. Or you can bring up anything you want. 855-450-3733, 855-450-FREE, or Skype in at username LRN.FM. The Texas Republican Party, the executive committee folks, they did vote on the question of putting a poll about secession on the primary ballot. So to simply inquire, just to ask the question of Republicans coming to vote in the primary. I guess they can just put a question on the ballot in Texas with a vote of the Republican Party.
Well, there were people that collected enough signatures to get the thing on the ballot, and instead of putting it on the general election ballot, they requested that it be on the primary ballot for some reason.
So that's why they had to go through the Republican Party?
Yes.
You used to live in Texas for a little while. What was it, like a couple of years? How long were you down there for?
13 months.
13 months. So had they put it on the general ballot, I didn't realize they collected enough petition signatures for that. I knew they were petitioning. I just didn't know they'd actually met their goal, which is interesting. I'm curious to know how many petition signatures they needed to collect.
Somewhere near 100,000.
That's a huge effort. I mean, for the Texas secession movement to be able to collect that many, honestly, I didn't think they'd be able to do that. Like, when I heard that they had to petition this, they were going to like hotels and different places. And
somewhere near 100,000 valid signatures. Might have even been over 100,000.
And that was recent, right? Like that was within the last year or so, I believe.
Yes.
So they collected those signatures.
Right, because you don't get a lot of time to collect these petitions.
So what you're saying is the 100,000 signatures, they could have just gone ahead and thrown that on the general election ballot, and then it wouldn't have had to go through the Republican Party's approval process?
Yes.
But because they decided to put it on the primary ballot.
They specifically requested to the Secretary of State that it be placed on the primary ballot.
Seems like a mistake then, right?
Yes.
Because if the
huge mistake.
Right. If the Republican Party can just decide to, with a simple vote of its executive committee, to prevent that from happening, you just wasted $100,000.
Right, because well, not necessarily $100,000.
I'm presuming $1 per petition signature, which is sort of the going rate.
They've probably had a lot of volunteers work on that as well.
There's still countless hours involved.
True. Here's the dirty little secret about primary elections that most people don't want to know. Primaries are elections for private groups.
Right.
However, you as a taxpayer are forced to pay for it.
For the Republicans and Democrats.
For the Republicans and Democrats. And in a handful of states, the Green Party, the Constitution Party, and or the Libertarian Party gets a primary if they want it. So, for instance, in Arizona, the Libertarians qualify for a primary, but they specifically requested to the Secretary of State, do not make a primary ballot for us.
Right, because libertarians actually care about small government and getting the government out of people's lives, and so it would be hypocritical for the libertarians to accept a government primary.
Yes.
So they decide all their stuff at a convention.
Yes. And so in most states, and federal courts have upheld this repeatedly, that the committees of the Republican and Democratic Party or any other party that has a primary, they have the final say on who is on their ballot. So if they determine, let's just say, since we're talking about Texas, if the Texas Republican Committee decided Donald Trump isn't actually a Republican, they could tell the Secretary of State, do not put this man on our ballot.
Can they decide, okay, what about this? So let's say they go through the primary. Donald Trump wins the primary. Could the Republican, they put him on the ballot, but he wins the primary.
Right.
Can the Republican executives then say, okay, well, yeah, he won the primary, but we're going to select this other guy as the candidate?
Only for the presidential nomination.
Huh.
Because And here's the thing.
So the whole vote's a suggestion, is what you're saying.
It's mostly a suggestion.
Yeah.
But with the way the presidential thing is, because not everybody that wins the Republican nomination won every primary or caucus. So there have been years to where the person that's the Republican or Democratic nominee did not win the primary in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
The state committee still has to tell the Secretary of State, this is who you put on our ballot. And there have been times in the past, it's not happened in, I believe, at least 50 years, but there have been times where a state, either Republican or Democratic party, did not have on their ballot whomever was the national nominee. So, for instance, in, I believe it was 1908, when Teddy Roosevelt had the Bull Moose Party, there were a couple of states where he was on the ballot as the Republican Party nominee instead of Taft. There were a couple of states when George Wallace ran for president in 1968 where he was on the ballot as the Democratic Party nominee instead of whomever the Democrat national candidate was in 1968.
So what were they thinking in Texas where the secession group, which I believe is called the Republic of Texas?
Smaller turnout in the primary, which means...
Meaning more likely to vote for
more likely
secession?
To find people that are going to vote in favor of your proposal.
But even if it got voted in favor, it wouldn't be binding, right? Like
right.
It's just a... If they'd put it on the general election ballot, would it have been binding?
Probably not.
So it would have just been we are the people of Texas and we want to secede.
A non-binding
politicians.
plebiscite,
Yeah,
basically.
Okay. Politicians, you should do something about this.
Right.
Basically.
And they've had similar votes in Puerto Rico over the last couple of decades. To
about
where,
joining the union?
Well, it's not just joining the union. It's a self-determination on the future of Puerto Rico, to where they'll have statehood, independence, remain a commonwealth. And generally, there have been a couple of other options available as well. What they had done until this most recent one that they had, I think in 2011, they would put all of the options as one question, and nothing ever got a majority. What they did on the most recent, it was a two-tiered plebiscite. Question 1, should Puerto Rico have a change of political status? Yes or no? Question 2, what should that status be? And then there was the option of statehood, independence, or independent in free association with the United States.
So how did it work out?
It actually wound up statehood won. Yes, on question 1 passed of yes, there should be a change in status.
Yeah.
And then statehood wound up getting a majority in question number 2. But there were a lot of people that voted no for question 1, but then did not vote on question 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the vote numbers are kind of skewed because it wasn't a majority of ballots cast overall that voted yes on statehood, but it was a majority of ballots cast with a vote on question 2.
Our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More about the Republic of Texas. And maybe you're in Texas and you were involved in this petitioning process. Now, I presume they'll have to do another 100,000 if they want to get on the general ballot. It's Free Talk Live, 855-450-FREE.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS?
Get on board with the Tax Admiral. Don't pick on the IRS alone. I'll cut penalties and reduce your overall tax bill. Sometimes I can even get it zeroed out completely.
We're an A-rated company helping people clean up their mess with the IRS.
If you owe $10,000 or more, then call the Tax Admiral.
Call 800-287-7180. Again, that's 800-287-7180. 800-287-7180. If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Boost Kid Essentials Nutritionally Complete Drink, providing your picky eater with essential nutrition and great taste in one drink. Visit us at kidessentials.com. To make sure your kids eat healthy, follow the 5-a-day plan. Serve 3 servings of vegetables and 2 servings of fruit daily. Remember, a serving could just mean a piece of fruit or a half cup of veggies. If your kids are picky eaters, ask a nutritionist about other sources. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
It's Free Talk Live. You may join us here talking secession, specifically Texas secession, and it appears as though there's actually more than one Texas secessionist group. And I had thought it was the Texas Nationalists that were doing the petition, and they are. There's their website, the TNM, as in Texas Nationalist Movement, thetnm.org, and they have a page there about signing the petition for a vote on Texas independence. Yet the article over at the Star Telegram is talking about the Republic of Texas.
It could be a thing to where the Republic of Texas was the group that notified the Secretary of State will be petitioning, and they got support from the Texas Nationalist Movement.
I don't know. I want to figure all this out. If you're down in Texas and you've got a comment, you're welcome to join us here, or you can bring up anything. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. I want to tell you about the latest drawing, the giveaway that we're doing here on Free Talk Live. It's going to be for another DAD, the Defense Alert device from Tiger Light. It's a pepper spray LED light combo with Bluetooth built in that allows for GPS crowd alert technology. It's lightweight, water-resistant, and durable thanks to its polycarbonate housing, making it virtually indestructible. They retail for just under $130 over at tigerlight.net. But you can get one for yourself for free if you enter our latest drawing. Now, here's how you do it. You download either one of the podcasts or the episodes from Saturday or Sunday, or both, and you'll hear at the very end of those episodes the question that you will have to answer in order to get into this contest. Now, there's no wrong answer to the question, but it is a specific question that has an answer, so you can go and listen. Just go download Saturday or Sunday show from freetalklive.com and listen towards the very end of the show. Hopefully you'll listen to the whole show, but it's at the end if you want to jump right to it. So once again, go to freetalklive.com, grab one or both of those episodes, get the question, and then you can send your answer to the question to the email address that I will give you in that episode. So there you go. Win yourself a Tiger Light, the DAD, the defense alert device from tigerlight.net. It's Ian and Darryl in the studio here tonight. So trying to figure out exactly what's going on with this petition of the Texas independence movement, because it sounds like you had said, Darryl, that they had collected the 100,000 signatures necessary. If that were the case, wouldn't they be putting on their website, hey, we did it? Like here.
Deadline. I found a story from the Texas Tribune from September, and the deadline was December 1st. So somebody over at the Texas Nationalist movement
needs to update
the website.
All right. Well, now the news is that the Republican Party has rejected the idea of placing this on the primary ballot. So apparently they have discretion as to whether or not that even happens. And the author over at the Star-Telegram is obviously not a fan of secessionists. He uses the term loons to describe Lone Star loons to describe secessionists. And then further, he posted an interview with the president of the Republic of Texas, John Jarnicki, who's 72 years old. This was done in earlier 2015, just kind of give you a look inside this author's view of the party or the movement. John Jarnicki said 25 interviews a week. It's hard to get any work done. He's a Fredericksburg building contractor and president of a separatist group that claims that Texas and the U.S. didn't legally join in 1845. For 15 years, a handful of mostly older hobbyists have met regularly, elected each other to offices, and passed laws, playing legislature and pretending to be the true Texas Congress. Look, says the author at Star-Telegram, if Texas did secede from the United States, this bunch is not who we'd put in charge. But since February 14th, when deputies and federal marshals raided a meeting as part of a fake document investigation, which we talked about here on Free Talk Live.
We did, where they were sending out subpoenas, or what they were calling subpoenas that looked official to
the real court of Texas or whatever.
Yeah, saying you must present yourself, blah, blah, blah.
Wonder what happened with that particular case.
I don't know.
I saw a follow-up on it. The Republic separatists have found a new generation of followers. President Jarnicki said by phone on Friday, quote, I talked to an Italian newspaper this morning, and oh yes, there was Russia Today. You're famous, I said. Or infamous, he said with a laugh. Almost 20 years ago, a Spur separatist group got attention for an armed standoff in the Davis Mountains. Since then, Jarnicki's separatists had lingered in online obscurity until Kerr County deputies began investigating a common law Republic of Texas court summons sent to a district judge over a foreclosure case. No charges have been filed. But since the raid, so there you go, that's the update. So they raided them, but they haven't filed any charges. More than 250,000 readers have visited Separatist's website. Now, according to Jarnicki, his group is in talks with Denton County-based Freedom Texas, a Tea Party affiliate, over whether to blend efforts toward independence and eviction of the U.S. government. They are two of several separatist groups with divergent visions for Texas, including whether a reborn republic would be a theocracy and Christian nation.
Which kind of Christian?
Doesn't say.
Because
the kind that hate Muslims, though.
Does it have to be?
Well, that's just that's what he believes. I'll get you that quote here.
And the reason I ask is because there are a lot of different variations of Christianity. There's a lot of variations of Methodist and Baptist. So I'm sure you could get people to agree. Yeah, we need it to be a Christian nation, but trying to decide which variation of Christianity is going to be rather difficult.
So they say here, the Republic of Texas boss man Jarnicki, he does say that, quote, Our motto is one nation under God, under one God, he says. If you're Muslim or whatever, then you're not going to agree with us. The border's that way. Which actually the border would be all different ways if you actually seceded, if you were in Texas. So you'd be able to point pretty much any direction.
He's stating a factual claim. The border is that way. Doesn't matter which way you point.
That's true. So,
might just be a little further one direction or another. But hold on. So he's saying there's only one God.
Which is actually what the Muslims say.
Right. And the Muslims say that it's the same God.
That's correct.
God of Judaism, the God of Christianity, and the God of Islam is the same God.
That's right. And the Muslims are very clear that that God is one God and not three gods, which many Christians believe. That God is like three parts, the triune God or whatever.
Right. And that's not three different gods. That's one God that reveals himself in three different ways.
Yes, that is certainly
so that's
one
not
way that it can
three,
be interpreted. But
that's one. Okay, so let me ask you.
This is one of the major differences between the Muslim and the Christian religion.
Let me ask you this question.
Islam does not accept the three-God idea thing, which I know that the Christians will say that it's not three separate gods. I get that. But yet they're really hard on the idea of having those three individuations, if you will.
So let me ask you this question. You've got eggs in your refrigerator, correct?
Probably from you, yeah.
Okay, the egg has a shell.
Yeah.
It's got the yolk, and then it's got the other part that's...
The albumin?
The what?
Isn't it called the albumin? Isn't that what it's called?
I don't know.
The white stuff?
The white part.
Yeah.
As James Cleveland would say, that's the good part. So there's three parts to the egg.
Right.
It's still a complete egg.
I get what you're saying. One of the key differences would also be that Jesus was not the Son of God, as far as the Muslims are concerned, that Jesus was, like Muhammad, a prophet.
Right.
So it's really just a real splitting of a hair, I think, the difference there between Muslims and Christians on that particular belief. Anyway, he says, so if you're Muslim or whatever...
Okay, so Buddhist, Hindu.
Yeah.
Well, what about Catholics? Because that's the thing. I know we've talked about that before. There are some Christians that don't believe that Catholics are Christians.
Right. I don't know.
Catholics definitely believe that Catholics are Christians.
Jarnicki also said that freedom of religion would be redefined. Legal residents would be free to stay, but public officers would have to, quote, take an oath to Almighty God, unquote. He says, I'll estimate 20% of people will want to leave. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What are the various secessionist groups in Texas?
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. You can buy them through expresscoin.com with a check or money order. There are other ways to get Bitcoin, but that's fast, safe, and easy. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
Winter has just begun, and are you already tired of being cold? How would you like to never be cold again? This is Dale with Fortress Clothing, and I'm here to tell you, you will never be cold again with Fortress. If you're tired of freezing your butt off, elk hunting, sitting in a tree stand deer hunting, winter camping, fishing, ice fishing, no longer fear the cold. If you snowmobile, ski, snowboard, get Fortress. Sledding with the kids, shoveling the walks, shopping, or if you or your spouse get cold feet at home, get Fortress. If you're stuck outside working in the cold or find yourself in an emergency situation, get our winter bug out bag and you will never be cold again. Fortress is the answer, so quit complaining and go to fortressclothing.com. It's a mid-layer garment that goes with anything you want to wear. Enter coupon code RADIO and get 20% off any item. Go now while we still have inventory. FortressClothing.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
Silver and gold, how do you measure its worth? Just by the pleasure it gives here on earth.
Robertson Roberts Brokerage hopes you have a happy holiday season and a prosperous 2016. We're available 24/7 at rrbi.co or call 800-874-9760.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Is secession a question of if or when? I feel like it's going to happen at some point. Whether it's a state seceding or the complete failure of the United States federal government, we're going to see some sort of breakdown of the political makeup of this country, I hope, in our lifetimes. And hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. The Texas nationalist movement really seems to have it together. Just kind of looking at their Facebook page and their website, it's a good-looking presence. Like, you know, a lot of kind of off-kilter groups will have really crappy websites that look like they were designed in 1999 or something like that. These guys actually have a good-looking site. They've got a logo. They've got a Facebook page that's updated regularly with information about what they're doing, a Twitter feed, etc. So, you know, kudos to them. And actually, their Facebook page has over 200,000 likes. Now, you know, you never know if those are fake or whatever, but I mean, that's an impressive number of likes. We've only got like 80,000 or 70-something thousand here on Free Talk Live, and we're a nationally syndicated radio show. So the fact that the Texas secessionist movement has garnered such popularity, I think, is a real indicator that maybe they'll be first. Now, I know that Vermont has a pretty healthy secessionist movement. New Hampshire, the gears are turning here, but we need to do a lot more, I think.
Yes.
The Free State Project hasn't officially made the move here yet. That's coming soon. Probably 2016 will trigger the move for the 20,000 people that have pledged to make the move to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project.
Free State Project's at 90% of the goal?
It sure is. In fact, it just crossed 90% a few days ago. It was sometime this weekend, I believe, when they updated their Facebook page with a new graphic that says that it's hit 90%. And hopefully we'll see it start to accelerate from now until whenever the end is. It's going to be sometime in 2016. If it continues at this rate, it'll likely be by September. But if it increases at its, at a good clip, maybe we'll hit it by PorcFest, the Porcupine Freedom Festival.
And it seems as though the sign-up rate has increased a good bit because I ran the numbers, I believe it was last summer.
Okay.
Or it might have been earlier this year, but it was some time ago, at least 9 months ago, I would say. And the calculations that I had, assuming that signups were at the highest margin that they had been in the nearly 15 years of Free State Project as an idea taking signups, if it was at the highest rate, then it would have taken until like the middle or end of 2017.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's definitely picked up.
It has picked up since that time frame. In the last 6 months or so, I've been kind of eyeballing when they update, because they'll update their Facebook page with a new header graphic every time 1% is added. And so just looking at the dates of when they updated those graphics, it's about once per month is when they'll do a 1% increase. Last time they did it, the 88 to 89% was about 3 weeks. So that one was a little faster, but this 89 to 90 was about a month. So it's gone from 3 weeks to a month. So it's hovering at around 1 month per 1%, which means we will definitely be finished before the end of 2016 at this rate. And I expect it's going to go up. I think there are probably a number of people out there who've been waiting. They wanted to see if this thing was for real. They wanted to see if people were going to sign up for it. And when they get the news that the Free State Project is reaching its completion point, I think there's going to be a lot of signups right toward the very end.
And the question that somebody had asked me a couple nights ago, after the 20,000th person signs, will they still take signups? So would somebody be able to be signer number 20,001?
That's an excellent question. The Free State Project originally was proposed to shut down after 20,000, that they would reach 20,000, the move would be triggered, the signers would have 5 years to move to New Hampshire. That's part of the agreement.
Right.
It's not a legally binding contract or anything like that. It's just what you're pledging to do.
Right.
And then get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. That the Free State Project would just wind itself down and shut off. But whether that actually transpires, I don't know. I don't know if the board of directors has made an alternative decision since that time, because, again, that was the original vision for it.
And I've heard speculation that the board will stick around in some form through that 5 years.
Yeah, because, I mean, who's going to run the Liberty Forum or the Porcupine Freedom Festival? That's the Free State Project. Those are the Free State Project's events.
Right.
Are those going to go away when the Free State Project goes away?
I hope not. I did hear that Liberty Forum might be going away.
Really?
And just, making PorcFest even better.
Really? Okay, that would be interesting, because I feel like I think that would be a mistake, because, I mean, maybe Liberty Forum's been losing money this whole time. Honestly, I don't know. I would expect it wouldn't have gone for 10 years if it wasn't covering costs. This is the 9th year, actually, this year. And
the 9th one will be next year, but it's been 10 years since the first one.
I thought the 10th one will be next year. But anyway, the Liberty Forum, go to nhlibertyforum.com. My point is that the Liberty Forum is kind of a different event than the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Yes, PorcFest has speakers and panel discussions, sort of like Liberty Forum does, but it's at a campground. It's very, dressed down.
Jeffrey Tucker still wears his bow tie.
He's the only one, though. Well, maybe Derek J. But
Top Hat Tony still wears his suit and top hat.
You're talking about 5 people out of 1,000 or 1,500 people that are, dressed up for a summertime camping gig. You're going to attract a different kind of person to the Porcupine Freedom Festival than you would attract to a hotel convention. So I hope that they don't make it go away. Although this year or this next one, the 2016 episode of the Liberty Forum, is really looking like an amazing event. Edward Snowden is going to be speaking via video link, because if he comes to the U.S., he's going to get arrested by the federal government, so he's got to do it via video. But still, the fact that Edward Snowden would take time out of his schedule to spend it with the Free State Project is a huge deal. I don't know if he has endorsed the Free State Project, but I'm sure they'll try their best to get an endorsement from Edward Snowden, which would be amazing if that happened. But already, just the fact that Edward Snowden is going to appear at Liberty Forum has been garnering headlines. The news just started to go out yesterday. I don't know if it was a press release or what. I don't know. It was an AP story that was sourced from a New Hampshire newspaper. So a New Hampshire newspaper, the Valley News, wrote up a news story about Edward Snowden speaking at the Liberty Forum. AP saw it. They took it. They made it an AP story. and then at least 100 as of today. Yesterday it was like 70. Today 100 different websites, newspapers, Salem Radio News picked it up. All kinds of pickups all across the country, from businesses as large as the Washington Post all the way to the Austin Statesman and many more. So we're starting to see a huge wave of publicity for this event. And I don't think the Liberty Forum has ever gotten pre-publicity quite like this before. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't remember. Okay, Ron Paul was there several years ago, but I don't know if he got the same level of publicity in advance by mainstream media that Edward Snowden is getting for appearing. Anyway, this is going to be a must-see event. You're going to want to be there for this to interact possibly with Edward Snowden and maybe a question and answer session. It's going to be relatively short. I've heard it's only going to be 30 minutes with Edward, so make sure you know your question if you want to get it in. NHLibertyForum.com. Go there and get your tickets. It's in Manchester, February 18th through the 21st. That's going to be a weekend, so it'll start on a Thursday. That's February 18th, going through Sunday, the 21st of February. So we're 2 months away from this right now. Go grab your tickets, get them locked in, lock in your hotel room. You're going to want to be in the Radisson right there in the heart of Manchester for this event. You don't want to miss it. Oh, and Free Talk Live will be broadcasting live from the event. So go to NHLibertyForum.com. That's NHLibertyForum.com. And something else that's going to be happening at the Liberty Forum, which has happened for the last few years, is the New Hampshire Liberty Party is going to be having its annual convention. And this ties back into the secession conversation that we were having about Texas, because I wish them the best. I mean, I'm not interested in a Christian state or anything like that, so that doesn't really float my boat. But I do like the idea of secession, and I do want to see the concept of secession be talked about. I want it to be seriously considered by average folks who may not have ever really thought about it significantly since they got out of school and they learned about the Civil War. It's time to start that conversation. And the Texas Nationalist Movement, the Republic of Texas, and whoever the other groups are in Texas, they're doing, at the very least, on that level, they're doing good work. So thank you to them for doing that. Here in New Hampshire, there are a couple of secessionist groups. There's the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence, and there's also the New Hampshire Liberty Party. I don't know of any others. I would like to know if there are any others, because we really got to get this ball rolling here as well. The foundation is sort of like the think tank. They do outreach about secession. Like they're smart. They call it independence for New Hampshire. And then the New Hampshire Liberty Party runs political candidates who advocate for secession, which is something that we borrowed from Vermont, because they actually have a secessionist party in Vermont that has run for the governor, I believe lieutenant governor, and their secessionist candidate got 5%, which is better than your average libertarian candidate does. Yeah. The toll-free number, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And a lot of Americans are ready for secession, at least according to the polls. This is Free Talk Live. You can share your thoughts.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com. As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene and the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, December 21st, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.19 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,073 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $443. Antiwar.com reports a series of Russian airstrikes pounded the capital city of al-Qaeda's Nusra Front, Idlib, in northwest Syria on Sunday, clobbering a busy downtown area and hitting several government buildings as well as nearby residential and commercial districts. Rescue workers in the city reported 43 identified slain and another 30 bodies recovered so far pending identification, adding that more bodies are still being found and the overall death toll is likely to rise. Since beginning its air campaign in Syria back in late September, Russia has heavily targeted the Idlib province and surrounding area, attempting to bolster a Syrian military offensive aimed at reclaiming territory lost to al-Qaeda and its allies in the area. The city of Idlib itself, however, had largely been spared to this point, and many displaced from other areas closer to the front lines had flocked to the city in hopes of avoiding the fighting. As with every place else in Syria, however, there appears to be no place civilians are safe from international airstrikes, Islamist suicide bombings, or a combination thereof.
For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co.
UPI reports Senator Bernie Sanders started the third Democratic primary debate by apologizing to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton during his answer about a staffer who accessed her campaign's polling and donor data last week. Clinton and Sanders also took direct aim at each other during the debate, sparring about Libya, campaign fundraising, and health insurance, as well as looking to clarify their differences on foreign policy and the economy. Sanders outlined plans for moving the country to a single-payer health insurance system, offering free college, and a $1 trillion proposal for infrastructure projects, with Clinton questioning how to pay for the programs without raising taxes on the middle class. Throughout the debate, Clinton and Sanders and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley sought to draw distinctions between themselves and the Republican Party's field of candidates, though only singling out Donald Trump, specifically his statements about Mexicans and Muslims. The three Democrats said Trump's statements about Muslims are helping recruitment efforts by the Islamic State. Sanders said his campaign has quietly reported 2 previous firewall breaches by a Democratic National Committee contractor. In this case, at least one staffer reviewed files a firewall breach allowed access to, who Sanders said has already been fired. Sanders said, "Not only do I apologize to Secretary Clinton, I want to apologize to my supporters." The DNC cut off Sanders' campaign access to the entire party donor database, including his own campaign information in response to the breach, but quickly restored access after the Sanders campaign filed a lawsuit in federal court.
Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spend-A-Bit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spend-A-Bit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co.
Reuters reports a woman was killed and about 17 other people were hurt when a Greyhound bus crashed into a sports utility vehicle that had stopped in a travel lane on a Texas interstate highway near the Dallas Cowboys home football stadium, according to police. Officers in Arlington, Texas received a call about 5:30 a.m. on Sunday about a blue SUV that had run into a barrier wall and was blocking the high-speed travel lane after having been seen swerving. Arlington Police Lieutenant Christopher Cook said shortly after the Greyhound bus hit the vehicle, a woman who was in the SUV died and a man was taken to an area hospital with serious injuries, adding that it was not clear which one was the driver. The bus, en route to Amarillo from Dallas, had 40 passengers and a driver on board. None of the bus passengers suffered life-threatening injuries. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Nothing you do or say will ever reach the lofty heights attained by the following news summary. This is the Onion Week in Review. Facing increased market pressure and a shrinking bottom line, media company Star Trove was forced to lay off dozens of unskilled bloggers this week. Sources confirmed that before being dismissed, many of the bloggers had been with the company for months, regularly performing menial tasks such as describing celebrity outfits and composing quizzes about Disney characters.
I mean, I'd been with this company for almost a year. It wasn't the most rewarding job, and I didn't have health insurance, but it paid the bills. I'm already 25 years old. I just don't know where to go from here.
In other news, a 6-day visit to a rural African village completely changes a woman's Facebook profile picture. A new dating website helps plus-size Jewish plane crash survivors find love. And a kid figures he'll go down the slide 36 more times and then call it a day.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us right here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We also have Skype. Skype on in at username LRN.FM. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
And you can join us online. Just drop by freetalklive.com. We have a lot of features on the site. They're all completely free, so please enjoy those on us. Again, freetalklive.com. You can still call to talk about secession if you want. I think we're going to move on from that, but anytime you want to bring up something we've already discussed, you're certainly welcome to do so here on Free Talk Live. And an issue that we keep coming back around to here on Free Talk Live is the ongoing legal saga of the ride-sharing companies out there in the world. The two most popular are Uber and Lyft. And you don't hear so much about Lyft, but they're being regulated very similarly to Uber. I tend to see the Uber news stories more so.
I think the reason you see the Uber stories a little more is like Uber corporate, what little corporate there is of Uber, spends a lot of money lobbying and thus getting publicity.
At the very least, they are spending money to try to stop being attacked by the government. I don't know if they're lobbying for laws more so than...
No, they're lobbying against stuff. Right. That's still a form of lobbying.
That's true.
Saying, please don't oppress us, is still lobbying.
And they are being oppressed in various different places around the globe. There have been actual raids on Uber offices in France and I believe Hong Kong. Was it Hong Kong or South Korea? Anyway,
I think there was something in Hong Kong with Uber not too long ago.
I know the South Koreans have been cracking down as well. And in the United States, in various different places, I had heard, we'd reported, I don't know, about a month ago that the Austin, Texas City Council was going to be looking at regulating Uber. And the idea was to regulate them at that time as though they would be horse and buggy carriage operators.
Yes.
And so,
meaning that they could only operate for a couple hours a night,
and they
had to charge a flat fee of $50 no matter how far or how short of a distance you went.
Now, I don't know if that's off the table, but there's been a vote this week in the Austin City Council, late last week. This is from the Texas Tribune at texastribune.org. The future of popular vehicle-for-hire services, Uber and Lyft in Austin, was up in the air early Friday morning after the City Council voted 9-2 in favor of an ordinance aimed at regulating the firms more like traditional taxi companies. After nearly 5 hours of debate, the council voted to require drivers for vehicle-for-hire apps like Uber and Lyft to pass fingerprint-based background checks, defying warnings by the companies that they would likely leave the city under such a regulation. The ordinance goes into effect on February 1st, but the companies will have the chance to get their fleets into compliance in phases over the course of 12 months. So whether this is the beginning of the end for Uber and Lyft in the city of Austin remains to be seen. They haven't explicitly said they would leave, but they basically said that they're going to leave.
You know what all of these requests by the taxi companies for, you need to regulate them even though they're not a taxi, you need to regulate them like a taxi. Do you know what all of them remind me of? They all remind me of what was intended to be the satirical candlemakers petition by Frederick Bastiat, where you look confused. So
I read
I'll
the book
explain.
once upon a time.
Well, the candlemakers petition's not in the book, the law.
Okay.
This was a petition that he delivered to French Parliament on behalf of the candlemakers, requesting that the French Parliament do something about the free foreign source of energy that was illuminating people's homes.
The sun.
We must require people to shutter their windows so that they purchase our candles to keep us in business.
Very tongue-in-cheek.
Very tongue-in-cheek. But that's what you're seeing with these taxi companies, of somebody's doing a better job than we are at a cheaper price. They are both the worst thing that's ever happened, and they're taking our jobs. In Portsmouth, New Hampshire, one of the taxi, I don't know if he's an owner or driver, said that the Uber drivers are stealing money from him.
Yeah, he's an owner of a taxi company.
They are stealing. The Uber drivers, according to this man,
he claims he's lost $100,000.
Are walking up to him at gunpoint, taking money from his wallet. That's what stealing money is.
Yeah, that's not happening. What's happening
providing a better service that people decide they want is not stealing money
the Uber
from
drivers,
anyone.
The people in, we're talking about Portsmouth, New Hampshire here, and I'm sure that the same is true of everywhere, but just specifically in Portsmouth, people have said, taxi cab users have said the taxis will take more than an hour sometimes to get where they're supposed to go, to come pick you up.
Yeah.
Uber, I don't think it could possibly take an hour. I mean, you look at that app, you can see where the cars are. It's not like some mystery as far as where those cars are. There's one of them that is available, and it is within 10 minutes of you or whatever. And they usually, when you send that request, they turn right around and start heading your direction.
Yeah.
So people are real happy with their service from Uber, and Lyft doesn't operate in New Hampshire, but Uber has, they're operating in Manchester and the Seacoast and Nashua at the moment, and every little town in between there. But back to Austin. What's going on here? They want to fingerprint the drivers. Now, I actually signed up as an Uber driver. I went through the process on the website, and it was really easy. Like, you do have to submit a little bit of paperwork to them. You have to submit your insurance. You need to be insured. You have to submit your vehicle registration.
Okay.
You have to submit your driver's license.
Okay.
And that's pretty easy to gather. Most everybody has those papers, and scanning them in might be harder for some people, but they'll accept like a photo, I think, of like if you take it with your cell phone. So if it's a good photo with your cell phone. So I think, it's not a hard thing to go through this process. There's like a 15-minute long introductory video that they would like you to watch, that you have to watch basically. And, basically that gives you kind of the rundown of how to be an Uber driver. And after that, there's like a week-long period where they are doing a background check on you. And some of the Uber activists from freeuber.org are saying that the Uber background check is actually more thorough than the state-run background check. Even though the state-run one goes back further, the Uber check is somehow a better check. I don't know
because
how that
the Uber check is a nationwide check.
Oh, that's right.
The check that is done in the city of Portsmouth by the police only checks for things in New Hampshire.
But can you imagine how much more difficult it would be to get people to sign up if they had to submit fingerprints? Then what do? Are you asking somebody to go get an ink pad? Because the average person probably doesn't have a stamp with an ink pad in their home. Go down to the office store, get an ink pad, print out a fingerprinting sheet, get your hands all messy.
I wonder if there's an app for that.
Ooh, I don't know.
Like download an app because
what would you do? Touch the screen of the phone?
With each finger. Because there is the sort of thing to where your thumbprint unlocks your phone. So there's got to be some kind of that. So, okay, thumb, first finger.
Damn you, Darryl.
Second finger.
You've given
third
them a good
finger,
idea.
Pinky.
You should check for that.
Four fingers.
See if there is a fingerprint scanning app, because I guess that would make sense. But anyway, absent that, it's more of a hassle to sign up with fingerprints. And I'm not sure exactly what Uber's reasoning would be for leaving, but I suspect it would be that if they're putting too many blocks and too many barriers in between someone wanting to be a driver and actually getting to be a driver,
yes,
that it's just not worth it for them to jump through the hoops. The move by Austin leaders. And by the way, I hate it when politicians are called leaders in the press. The press does it all the time.
Yeah.
And no, these people are not my leader. I'm not interested in having them tell me what to do. That's what a leader does. In a lot of cases, they'll tell people what to do. Or a good leader will set an example, right? Which, of course, the politicians don't do that very well at all. Because politicians set examples of lying and, being dishonest and, false and scamming people and just generally being bad folks. So, yeah, you don't want to look up to these people. Anyway, it represents the latest fight between the fast-growing vehicle-for-hire industry and Texas cities, several of which have struggled to find a balance between allowing the popular smartphone-based services to operate while addressing concerns about fairness and safety, those often brought up by traditional cab companies, which operate under more onerous regulations. By the way, our former co-host, Mark, he's a convicted felon for murder. And he was able to get a job with a cab company in Sarasota, Florida, and there's certainly no shortage of cab regulations there. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. You can share your thoughts on ride sharing or bring up whatever you want on Free Talk Live.
All right, listen up, because this is the most important thing you're going to hear all day. What if I said you could make money flipping houses without any cash, credit, or manual labor? And what if I said you could do it part-time from the comfort of your home? Sound unflippin' believable? Hi, I'm Preston Ely, and I'm going to prove it by sending you a free copy of my smash hit-selling book, How to Get Rich in Real Estate. It sells online for $19.95, but I'm giving away 5,000 free copies this week. To get one before they're gone, call 1-800-961-8439. I used to be so broke, I had my electricity shut off 9 times, but I figured out a simple way to make money flipping houses without even breaking a sweat. Now I'm living the good life, and so should you. Listen, if you're sick and tired of stressing about money, this book could change your life. Hands down, it's the fastest, easiest way to get started in real estate. Let me prove it. Call right now to find out how to get your free book. When they're gone, they're gone. Call 1-800-961-8439. 1-800-961-8439.
Did you know that home break-ins increase more than 100% during the holidays? It takes just 10 seconds for an intruder to kick in your door, but police response to a home alarm system is more than 20 minutes, and intruders are in and out of your home in 5 minutes. Thieves know that you're not home and have presents inside just waiting to be taken. And if you are home, how safe will you feel with an intruder lurking inside with your family? That's why police across the country are recommending you use door armor. Proven to withstand the force of a battering ram, Door Armor keeps intruders out. It's easy to install and barely visible, and your Door Armor is guaranteed for life. Go to InvasionStopper.com for a very special buy one, get one at half off deal. These savings are for a limited time and only available to GCN listeners. Protect your valuables and loved ones this holiday season. Go to InvasionStopper.com now. That's InvasionStopper.com.
Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate.
Oof, I think we've all had enough of that jingle, don't you? If you're going to invest in property in New Hampshire, it just makes sense to support a Liberty-friendly realtor. Call Mark Warden of Team Porcupine Real Estate for investment property or rentals in the Free State, or visit his website. Come on, you know it.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us right here, toll free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. The crackdown continuing on ride-sharing services, Uber and Lyft. Specifically now, we're looking at Austin, Texas. Now, there's also another crackdown happening in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
They've actually got the city council meeting tonight, so hopefully Christopher David or someone else will give us a call, let us know what's happening out there.
Oh, that's great. I'll be sure to send him a message and make sure that we get a rundown on that. So, and people did pack the meeting in Austin as well. There's a picture here of the meeting, and there's a lot of people who are very interested in this, and I imagine they've got quite a few Uber drivers there in Austin who would prefer to not be put out of business by this because Uber may be pulling out of the city, as will Lyft, perhaps, if the city does require them. And they've now voted 9-2 in favor of an ordinance that would require Uber and Lyft drivers to pass fingerprint-based background checks. The move by them represents the latest fight between the fast-growing vehicle-for-hire industry and Texas cities. A packed Austin City Hall sat waiting late into the night for the council to take up the proposed ordinance, and then they debated it for 5 hours. 5 hours on that one issue. As they have in similar battles with other cities, Uber and Lyft all but promised to leave Austin if the proposal passed. The companies made good on a similar threat in San Antonio, only to both later return under a pilot program that made fingerprint-based background checks voluntary for drivers. But Austin's higher profile as the state's capital, a tech-friendly mecca, and the home of one of the largest college campuses in the country means the standoff could have a wider impact. Both Uber and Lyft operate in more than a dozen Texas cities, many in which the regulatory environment for the company's services remains unsettled. The two companies are also expected to expand service to other Texas cities. Just over a year ago, Austin passed a temporary ordinance allowing vehicle-for-hire apps to operate legally with few restrictions, which is why from one year to the next, I was unable to use Uber. When we went to the Texas Bitcoin conference, we were unable to use Uber the first time we went. The second time we went, we were able to use it, and it was great. It was super easy. We used it twice during the conference, and it was just it was a dream. It was so easy using Uber. And so no wonder the cab companies are feeling threatened by these groups and turning to their mommies and daddies in government to put a stop to this. Anyway, back to the story here. Just over a year ago, they passed the ordinance that allowed them to start operating in the city. Over several months, one councilwoman, Ann Kitchen, has led an effort to pass a permanent ordinance requiring vehicle-for-hire apps to follow similar regulations as traditional taxi companies. The most contentious issue has been the kind of background checks that drivers for both types of companies must undergo. In the Texas cities where Uber and Lyft operate, the cities allow the companies to handle the background checks of their drivers. Officials with both companies have criticized fingerprint requirements as overly burdensome and unnecessary. They say that drivers who work fewer than 20 hours a week are critical to the reliability of their services, but requiring them to visit an office to be fingerprinted dissuades many from signing up. So I suspect that's why your phone solution isn't going to work, Darryl. I bet you the ordinance actually says that the driver has to show up in person to present their papers and be fingerprinted by the company.
Okay, well, that's better than the way you were making it sound is you've got to take fingerprints of yourself at home.
Well, that's what I was guessing, right? Like, I haven't read the ordinance. My point was that, like, doing it, it's all done at home right now, right? Like, when you sign up for Uber, I was sitting in my house doing that sign up.
Yes.
I didn't need to go somewhere and fill out some paperwork. And now it sounds like this ordinance is going to require a driver to physically go somewhere and sign some papers. And, in a place like New Hampshire, Uber exists as Uber New Hampshire. Like in bigger cities like Austin, it's Uber Austin, it's Uber Houston, it's Uber whatever. But New Hampshire's so small, they just sort of have New Hampshire. And then there's like a territory on a map which covers a few different New Hampshire cities. So there is no Uber office in Manchester or Nashua or wherever. There's like one Uber office, and where it is, I don't know. It might even be
Boston.
Like Boston. Yeah, exactly. So, are you going to drive from Manchester to Boston just so you can get fingerprinted so you can work for, $10 an hour or whatever?
Chances are you would go to the police station to get fingerprinted.
Well, it's not made clear here. It suggests here that they may be required to visit an office to be fingerprinted, which may mean Uber. It may mean the police station. I don't know.
May mean city council.
But if it's
or
the police
city
station,
hall.
if it's the police station, then I think people will be even less likely to go and sign up, especially if they have a criminal past that's not an actual violent criminal past.
Right.
They may be a little uncomfortable by the fact that they're once again in custody of the police just to apply for a job. If the current proposal is adopted, Austin will become the only major city in the U.S. without ride sharing, says Uber spokesperson Debbie Hancock.
How are they defining major city?
I don't know. The company also launched a kitchen view setting on its app in Austin, which removed the company's fleet of cars from view and replaced it with an offer to request a horse and buggy ride. When asked if Lyft would stop operating in Austin if the ordinance passes, and it has, spokeswoman Chelsea Wilson said, quote, "We do not operate in any market that requires drivers to be fingerprinted," unquote. So that's basically them saying we're going to pull out.
Yes.
Kitchen argued the companies could thrive under her ordinance. She told a Lyft official Thursday evening, quote, "I think this is a community that would show you that drivers would be fingerprinted and would want to participate." Austin Mayor Steve Adler and several council members expressed frustration. They were making policy with a threat over their heads. Yet they were also worried about the potential safety problems associated with maintaining the status quo or changing current regulations. The mayor said, "I don't like any of these choices. Ultimately, our goal is not to keep any particular company here or not here." Well, poor Mayor Adler. He doesn't like to have a threat hanging over his head.
But that's exactly what they do, is they put threats over other people's heads.
Right, so he can dish it out, but he can't take it. Because ultimately, the city council and the mayor, that's all they do is threaten businesses. If you don't do what they say, they're going to send men with guns to your business, and they will force you to close down. And if you don't close down, you'll be put in handcuffs. And if you don't want to be put in handcuffs, they're going to hurt you.
Yes.
So, I don't feel sorry for this guy at all. And it's not the same level of threat for Uber and Lyft to say, well, we're going to leave if you pass this ordinance. Not the same level as we're going to kill you if you don't do what we want.
Yes.
Several members of the council said they're worried that Uber and Lyft leaving would mean an increase of drunk drivers on the road. Austin Police Chief Art Acevedo, who by no means is a freedom-oriented guy, echoed the concern, telling the council it would be ideal if Uber and Lyft's background checks were expanded, but stressed his bigger concern is Austin residents losing a popular transportation option, particularly late at night. So the police chief actually appears to kind of be against this regulation.
Right, because having people with multiple options of how to get home after being at a bar is a good thing.
He says a lot of sexual assaults happen in the city of Austin because we're not getting people that are in our vulnerable population out of the downtown area and into their homes.
I wonder how many of those assaults are happening at the hands of taxi drivers.
Good question. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. There's actually an Uber study that they looked at a couple of different cities and the DUI rates. And when Uber starts in a city, DUIs go down. Like, Obviously, correlation is not causation, but it sure is an interesting correlation. 855-450-FREE allows you to join us on Free Talk Live.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit, did your nerves spike? You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that tenth of a calorie it takes to click on something. Facebook.freetalklive.com.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us right here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. 855-450-3733. Also Skype into the show at username LRN.FM. Uber and Lyft under attack in Austin, Texas, where the city council last week voted 9-2 to require drivers or potential drivers for the services to be fingerprinted prior to being and background checked. So fingerprint-based, background checked before they are approved in order to drive for these companies. Uber and Lyft have basically said they're going to leave the city if that's the case.
Don't threaten us. That's not how we make policy.
Yeah, the city. That's basically what the city manager or the city mayor said about that. And the operators, or Uber and Lyft, the spokeswoman for Uber said that Austin will become the only major city in the U.S. without ride sharing, because if the proposal is adopted, they're basically going to pull out. You're welcome to comment here. Also, text messaging. Uber does it. They'll send a text message to their drivers in New Hampshire, letting them know about like some sort of upcoming promotion or important information. And maybe you're a smaller business operator and you would like to get into the world of texting your customers with specials or offers or news about your business, and you just haven't done so yet because it just seems too overwhelming. The services are too complicated. TextFire is designed for you. TextFire, TXTFYRE.com. Super easy to create unlimited subscriber lists. You can use different lists for different types of customers and even staff. Makes it easy to communicate with different groups using TextFire. You can send your text messages using a real local number that people can text you back at as well if they want. Customers could, text you an order, for instance, if they wanted to, depending on your business. You can use their web interface to create lists, manage subscribers, and even schedule your text messages. It's great for groups of 100 to 2,000, making it perfect for small businesses, churches, or local civic groups. You can go to textfire.com and learn more about it. Free Talk Live listeners get their first month free. Just text FTL to 877-792-7418. Text the letters FTL to 877-792-7418 to get started with TextFire. That's TextFire, TXTFYRE.com. The mayor in Austin is expressing frustration over being under a threat. He doesn't like to have to make decisions while under threats. But even the police chief is saying that even though the police chief wants to see more background checks, he sort of supports the fingerprinting because he's the police chief, and if they send business to him for that, he's more than happy to collect more documents on people. But in this case, he's actually saying that, well, maybe we should leave them alone on this, because if they leave, if Uber and Lyft pull out of Austin over this, as they are suggesting they are going to do, he says that could mean more DUIs and that could mean more sexual assaults. And I think he's right about that. Because if you are, drunk and you need to go home, you call a cab company, but they are not going to get there for an hour or whatever, however long it's going to be, because it can take a while in certain instances.
Yes.
Then you might just decide, well, I got to be at work in the morning. I got to get home. So you hop in your car and you drive home, which, of course, could result in DUI. Or maybe while you're waiting there at the side of the road, somebody says, hey, I'll take you home, darling, or whatever, and you get into their car.
Do you get called darling a lot?
No, but maybe in Texas, someone would use that term. So they get into this unknown person's car to get a ride home, and then before you know it, there's a rape or some other form of sexual assault. You can share your thoughts at 855-450-FREE. While both companies have said arranging fingerprint-based background checks of the drivers is too burdensome, they took different approaches to the issue in Houston. Once that city began fingerprint-based background checks of the apps last year, Lyft pulled out. Uber chose to stay, but has continued to complain about the city's ordinance and to argue that it has kept many potential drivers from signing up. So maybe Lyft will follow through on their promise to leave, but Uber will stick it out. I guess we'll find out. Kitchen asked the Uber executive Adam Blinick why the company was still operating in Houston. He says, quote, "Houston has been a very difficult city for us to operate." He declined to say whether the company had plans to leave that city. Houston officials have criticized the third-party background checks that companies like Uber use as insufficient in catching convictions from all 50 states and ensuring that drivers are who they say they are. Later in the evening, Alex Heim with the city of Houston told council members his city has not seen any evidence that Uber cannot sign up enough drivers to meet demand because of its fingerprint requirement. He also read a letter from the Council of Houston Mayor Ennis Parker urging Austin leaders to adopt fingerprint-based background checks requirements for transportation network companies, as they're being called. So you've got one city coming to argue that another city should do what they have done. This is there's like a team of municipalities out there that they want to create more government. Right. And when one city does something that creates more government and more requirements, then they put the news out to the other cities that, hey, we got away with this one, guys. You should try this where you guys are.
And it's not just municipal governments. State legislatures will do this as well.
Yeah, they keep an eye out to see who's able to do what around the country. That's why the smoking bans took some time to spread around the United States. It was Florida and California and New York, and then other states came up.
There are entities that are basically lobbyist organizations made up entirely of state legislators, but because everybody that's a member is a state legislator, they're exempted from the lobbying rules, even though they're doing lobbying.
Oh, interesting. So they don't have to wear the little name tag that says lobbyist.
Right. And so there was a bill here in the New Hampshire legislature that luckily failed that was aimed at targeting crafters of model legislation, and they explicitly exempted organizations whose membership is made up solely of elected officials. So municipal associations where everybody is an elected municipal official, the state legislative, National Council of State Legislators, they would be exempted because, well, we're legislators and what we do is legislate. So therefore it's not lobbying when we talk to other legislators about ways to legislate. But you, Darryl, if somebody were paying you to write the bills that you've given to us, the model legislation that you've written, if somebody were paying you,
you'd be a lobbyist.
You would be a lobbyist, and we would then have to ask, like, where'd you come up with this? Where and file all these reports about amendment proposals that you've given. But we, as state legislators, we are exempt. It doesn't matter that we got the idea from another state legislator in another state. It's okay because legislator, and that's what we do.
There's a little bit more here about what's happening in Austin. There's set of issues beyond just safety. Traditional yellow cab-style companies and most other Texas cities in Austin are limited into how many vehicles they can have on the road and are strictly regulated in terms of the fares that they can charge. Many cities also require those firms to have some wheelchair-accessible-based vehicles in their fleets. Uber and Lyft constantly adjust their fares based on demand and do not face requirements in most cities to provide wheelchair-accessible services.
Wow, supply and demand gets to determine the rate of things? What a novel concept.
And the Taxi Drivers Association of Austin president is mad. David Passmore says they can raise their prices when they want to, but I can only charge what the city set my meter to charge, and you're telling me that's a level playing field? Now, of course, he's rightfully upset because he shouldn't be regulated either.
Right, but he's not saying make me as free as they are.
No,
he's saying enslave them as much as I am.
Yeah, and that's the
problem.
Or
worse.
That's the problem with these industry associations like this who, they don't go to bat for freedom anymore. Once they've been regulated, once they're part of the system, they defend the system that they're a part of, even though that system is hurting them ultimately because it prevents them from being as nimble as Uber and Lyft. Our toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. So there's a big question mark over the city of Austin right now. Will these ride-sharing services be pulling out? And what will that mean for the safety of people on the roads with more drunk drivers deciding to take a risk and head home from the bars? 855-450-FREE. It's Free Talk Live.
I was coming out of the hardware store when I saw him. An old man, late 70s, hunched over in the freezing rain, no hat on his head, limping across that slippery parking lot, and pushing a row of shopping carts toward the cart corral. It's heartbreaking. Millions of hardworking Americans simply don't have enough money to retire, so they just keep working and working and working until it's too late. Hi, I'm Chad Stubbs, President and CEO of Power Trader, and I believe that's just plain wrong. That's why I'm now distributing to the public absolutely free copies of Power Trader's game-changing book on how regular folks can make the money they need to retire fast. For your free copy, call 1-800-771-6706. Don't let the lack of money rob you of your retirement. Call now for details and get your free copy of this book before it's too late. 1-800-771-6706. But hurry while supplies last. 1-800-771-6706. 1-800-771-6706.
We've had an amazing year here at Supernatural Silver. We've truly enjoyed the fantastic response from thousands of people as they've tried our extraordinary product, and we're thrilled at the life-changing results people have. Our company email is continually full of happy, satisfied customers who thank us for the help they've received from Supernatural Silver. This holiday season, as you think of gifts to give your loved ones, consider giving Supernatural Silver, a gift that can help provide good health and wellness, a gift that can change lives and make a real difference. In a world where we are constantly exposed to dangerous health threats, give yourself and your loved ones a fighting chance. Give Supernatural Silver. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the promo code HOLIDAY2015 for 20% off. And this holiday season, we wish you and yours the blessings of peace and good health from all of us here at supernaturalsilver.com.
Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a longtime supporter of antiwar.com. This past November, Roberts & Roberts donated all the profits of their precious metal sales from Armistice Day and Bitcoin Black Friday to antiwar.com. Well, that wasn't enough, and they're doing it again. From now until December 23rd, use coupon code PEACEONEARTH, all one word, and every dollar over the wholesale cost from all products from that purchase will go to antiwar.com. Randolph Bourne said, "War is the health of the state, and Roberts & Roberts believes that banks are its sustenance. Banks drive war. Why use their money?" By investing in gold, silver, and Bitcoin, you are exiting the corrupt system that enables war. Use coupon code PEACEONEARTH when you shop online at rrbi.co now through December 23rd and help support antiwar.com and the cause of peace this holiday season. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Incorporated, rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
In Survivor Max 2, School Bites, Max must scavenge through a wasteland swarming with the undead. Desperate to find the medicine he needs, he discovers a community of survivors at his former school. Has he finally found the safe haven he's been looking for, or will he discover that school bites? Look for Survivor Max on Facebook, read reviews on Amazon, and read Chapter 1 at survivormax.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And Darryl.
And you can join us online. Just drop by freetalklive.com. If you like what we're doing here, one of the ways to support the show is to just do your shopping with Free Talk Live. You can do that by going to shop.freetalklive.com. You enter Amazon through the links you'll find there, and Free Talk Live will get a portion of your purchase. It's the same great Amazon you're used to, with the same awesome deals and free Super Saver shipping and Amazon Prime and all that stuff. It's just that you're entering through our affiliate link, so Amazon sends us a portion of the sale as a thank you to sending them the business. So go to shop.freetalklive.com and get your shopping done. It's getting down to the wire if you want to get stuff in time for Christmas, so you should probably do that sooner rather than later at shop.freetalklive.com. There is hopefully going to be an update later tonight here on Free Talk Live about the Uber situation in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where Uber drivers have been committing civil disobedience on a regular basis. The city has basically told Uber that it's illegal for them to operate in the city, but Uber hasn't stopped the app. So anyone who wants to, who's an Uber driver, can log into the Uber partner app and log on and start accepting rides. So Uber hasn't been prevented from doing that, although the next step, according to a news story that came out, I think a few days back, is that the city council is going to send some sort of a request, ostensibly tonight, if it's voted by the full council. I believe it was voted by a council committee last week. So a committee voted to send to the full council a request to go to court to request an injunction to force Uber to stop offering their services in the city of Portsmouth.
They would have to suspend the rules to do anything other than a first reading tonight. So you have to have a first reading.
Okay.
Suspend the rules, second reading. Suspend the rules again, have a third reading.
Well, now, wait, that's on proposed ordinance. This would just be something that the city does. They just file a suit. Do you need to have a bunch of readings for that?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out more as time goes on, because there are liberty activists that are on the scene there tonight for that council meeting. So we'll update you as we learn more about it. Uber official in Portsmouth has written a letter to the mayor saying that some Portsmouth officials are either misinformed or misstating the facts about Uber's commitment to safety. Bill Gurnier, the general manager for East Coast operations at Uber, sent the letter to Lister and the city council saying the bottom line is Uber focuses on safety before, during, and after a ride. The council is scheduled to vote on the second reading of a proposed amendment to the city's transportation services ordinance that Uber has pushed for at the city council meeting on Monday night. The most significant part of the amendment is Uber's call to reduce the time frame that any driver under the new ordinance can be convicted of a felony involving a controlled substance and violence from 15 to 7 years. Uber also wants to eliminate another part of the background check provision that requires drivers not to be convicted of a misdemeanor in the past 7 years. I mean, if you prevent drivers or people who want to drive for Uber if you prevent drivers who have a misdemeanor within the last 7 years from being able to drive, that's going to wipe out a lot of the potential population, because it's not hard to get a misdemeanor charge these days. It really isn't.
And there was somebody posted, I forget where it was, but apparently every moving violation in the state of Texas is considered a misdemeanor.
Really? So speeding is a misdemeanor?
That's what I was reading.
Well, at least in this case, we're talking about New Hampshire. I don't believe that is the case. But the acting deputy police chief sent a letter to the city council saying the department opposes the proposed changes that Uber wants to make to the ordinance. Quote, the police department does not believe there should be any debate at all going on about the safety of the ride-sharing public, and especially not when the reason is that it benefits a vendor's business model or wishes, he said. These safety assurances required by the city ordinance that is currently there are minimal and should remain unchanged.
Okay, so let me tell you what happens if you get in a taxi and you're not feeling comfortable with the way the taxi driver is driving. You feel that he is, intentionally increasing the fare by going the long way. Mm-hmm. His car's completely dirty. He's running red lights. He's running stop signs, swerving in and out of lanes. Here's what you can do. You can call the taxi company. You can file a complaint. And nothing's going to happen.
You could file a complaint probably with the taxi regulators or something.
You could do that as well. And again, most likely, nothing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you do if you're in an Uber or a Lyft. You give the guy 1 star, and then his rating goes down. And if his rating goes down too far, he doesn't get to drive anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll let you do it below 1 or like 4.6. Like if you fall below 4.6 out of 5, that's it. You can't keep driving for Uber. So it wouldn't take too many 1 ratings to knock somebody out completely.
Yeah, wouldn't take too many at all. But yet, taxi drivers, doesn't matter. Their car can be disgusting. They can have crackheads sitting in the front seat.
Have you had that happen?
Not a crackhead, but somebody that definitely was not all there.
Somebody who's a buddy with the driver or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not all there. And
what city was this?
This was in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, it was incredibly odd.
Just was he annoying or something like that?
It was a woman.
Okay.
She apparently had just got picked up from the hospital, and the guy
The mental
didn't have
hospital?
She was in for mental stuff. The
Okay.
driver told me afterwards.
Gotcha.
But yeah, she was not making any sense. Apparently, was on a lot of hospital drugs.
I don't know. That
making
sounds
her
like free
make
entertainment.
It was entertaining at 4:00 in the morning going
Yeah,
to the
sure.
airport, but it was certainly annoying.
The spokesman for Uber touts the company's rigorous background check process, which all driver partners using the Uber platform undergo, saying that the background check searches a series of national, state, and local databases, including the National Sex Offender Registry, National Criminal Search, and several different databases used to flag suspected terrorists. He says that Uber disqualifies potential drivers with crimes relevant to public safety concerns. So Uber has looked at the list of misdemeanors and has said, and felonies, and has said, okay, that's a public safety issue. That's a public safety issue. Possession of marijuana, not a public safety issue. I'm
Right.
just guessing there, right? In my case, I was convicted of disorder or obstructing government administration. They apparently don't think that's a public safety issue, and I happen to agree with them. And so I would have been precluded from being a driver in Portsmouth had I gone through the Portsmouth check. It's not because I'm a bad driver. My driving history is impeccable. So I'm a great driver. I've had a good history of that. I think I've had like 2 speeding tickets, and one of them was thrown out.
I would probably be prevented from being an Uber driver.
Why is that?
Because I've got a warrant in South Carolina for an unpaid speeding ticket.
You could apply if you wanted to and find out what happens.
Yeah, whatever.
You can apply. You drive the Cruiser, so you don't have to apply with the Nada bus. You don't actually have to own the car that you apply with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the car I applied with was the old police cruiser
Right.
that we have here, and that's a corporate car. So there's a corporation that owns that car.
Yeah.
And that they didn't say anything about it, so that wasn't a problem at all. But the cops and the city council members, they want to exclude as many people as possible from this process. There are countless people who go and they get convicted of misdemeanors because most people take a plea deal. If you get hit with a possession of marijuana charge, in New Hampshire, that's a misdemeanor. Now, obviously, there are people that are working to try to change that here. The Free State Project is some of those people. Some of the movers for the Free State Project are some of those people. But it hasn't happened yet. So right now, everybody that gets caught with a joint is guilty of a misdemeanor, and that would mean that the Portsmouth government would not allow you to drive for Uber. So I can understand why Uber is upset about this, and they are putting their foot down, and they're saying, look, let us handle this. We've got this. We do this in dozens of countries around the globe. We handle the background checks. We know what's important to us as a company to help our drivers and the passengers feel safe. And we don't believe that these misdemeanors, whatever they are, we don't believe they qualify as dangerous. We don't think they make our drivers a risk on the roads. And they're the ones who are putting their business on the line. They should be the ones free to make that choice. If people are worried about the quality of the drivers from Uber, they can call the cabs. And of course, there are plenty of cabbies who have issues in their past as well. There's plenty of cabbies who are acting violent and dangerous towards the Uber cabs. They're boxing in Uber cabs in Portsmouth.
Yeah, and I was just reading a write-up from Cynthia McKinney, who apparently hates Uber. She claims that it's, making Goldman Sachs rich. And one of the things she writes about is apparently down in Australia, taxi drivers are actually assaulting Uber drivers.
Toll-free number, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Coming up, private police. That is apparently happening in Seattle, and Darryl has the story.
Are your kids spending too much time online? Are they gaming instead of doing homework? Are they on Facebook instead of sleeping? Turn their internet access on or off when you want for free at webcurfew.com. 100% web-based interface means nothing to download, install, or configure. Web Curfew is free and controls any device using your home network without slowing down your internet. Block all adult web content with the click of a button. Don't let the internet raise your kids. Take back control of how and when your home internet is used for free. Visit webcurfew.com.
As a pioneer of the e-commerce movement, Overstock.com is proud to be the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. Overstock was the first because Patrick Byrne, Overstock's CEO and founder, firmly believes in personal freedom and cryptocurrency. Over the past 16 years, Overstock has furnished over 18 million homes with a diverse line of products to suit everyone's unique styles and preferences. Support Overstock and freedom of choice while enjoying free shipping on orders of 0.211 Bitcoin or more.
Silver and gold, silver and gold. How do you measure its worth? Just by the pleasure it gives here on earth.
Roberts & Roberts Brokerage hopes you have a happy holiday season and a prosperous 2016. We're available 24/7 at rrbi.co or call 800-874-9760.
So much more. LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate it 5 stars, then share the link on social media, and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm. That's apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene and the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Darryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, December 21st, 2015. Silver is trading at $14.19 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,073 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $443. Antiwar.com reports a series of Russian airstrikes pounded the capital city of al-Qaeda's Nusra Front, Idlib, in northwest Syria on Sunday, clobbering a busy downtown area and hitting several government buildings as well as nearby residential and commercial districts. Rescue workers in the city reported 43 identified slain and another 30 bodies recovered so far pending identification, adding that more bodies are still being found and the overall death toll is likely to rise. Since beginning its air campaign in Syria back in late September, Russia has heavily targeted the Idlib province and surrounding area, attempting to bolster a Syrian military offensive aimed at reclaiming territory lost to al-Qaeda and its allies in the area. The city of Idlib itself, however, had largely been spared to this point, and many displaced from other areas closer to the front lines had flocked to the city in hopes of avoiding the fighting. As with every place else in Syria, however, there appears to be no place civilians are safe from international airstrikes, Islamist suicide bombings, or a combination thereof. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Senator Bernie Sanders started the third Democratic primary debate by apologizing to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton during his answer about a staffer who accessed her campaign's polling and donor data last week. Clinton and Sanders also took direct aim at each other during the debate, sparring about Libya, campaign fundraising, and health insurance, as well as looking to clarify their differences on foreign policy and the economy. Sanders outlined plans for moving the country to a single-payer health insurance system, offering free college, and a $1 trillion proposal for infrastructure projects, with Clinton questioning how to pay for the programs without raising taxes on the middle class. Throughout the debate, Clinton and Sanders and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley sought to draw distinctions between themselves and the Republican Party's field of candidates, though only singling out Donald Trump, specifically his statements about Mexicans and Muslims. The three Democrats said Trump's statements about Muslims are helping recruitment efforts by the Islamic State. Sanders said his campaign has
has quietly reported 2 previous firewall breaches by a Democratic National Committee contractor. In this case, at least one staffer reviewed files a firewall breach allowed access to, who Sanders said has already been fired. Sanders said, "Not only do I apologize to Secretary Clinton, I want to apologize to my supporters." The DNC cut off Sanders' campaign access to the entire party donor database, including his own campaign information, in response to the breach, but quickly restored access after the Sanders campaign filed a lawsuit in federal court.
Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co.
Reuters reports a woman was killed and about 17 other people were hurt when a Greyhound bus crashed into a sports utility vehicle that had stopped in a travel lane on a Texas interstate highway near the Dallas Cowboys home football stadium, according to police. Officers in Arlington, Texas received a call about 5:30 a.m. on Sunday about a blue SUV that had run into a barrier wall and was blocking the high-speed travel lane after having been seen swerving. Arlington Police Lieutenant Christopher Cook said shortly after the Greyhound bus hit the vehicle, a woman who was in the SUV died and a man was taken to an area hospital with serious injuries, adding that it was not clear which one was the driver. The bus, en route to Amarillo from Dallas, had 40 passengers and a driver on board. None of the bus passengers suffered life-threatening injuries. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
A heroic broken sewage pipe floods Congress with waste. Johnson & Johnson introduces new leave-in Q-tips. This Thursday, local youth Andrew Robillard told reporters he had no idea why he couldn't wear his Iron Man costume to his grandfather's funeral. Robillard, whose grandfather passed away this week after complications from a stroke, vented his frustration to reporters and noted that his grandpa, quote, probably wouldn't even care if he dressed like Iron Man at the funeral.
Iron Man is awesome. I want to wear my Iron Man suit. I am Iron Man.
And in tech news, a news website refers to its users' ceaseless exchange of racial slurs as a discussion. In other news, Guinness World Records promotes the man who can lift 27 pounds with his tongue to editor-in-chief. Thursday's cry is moved up to Wednesday due to a scheduling conflict, and a family watches in silence as Dad checks out the waitress.
This is the Onion News Network.
It's Free Talk Live. Yep, you're invited here to join us. Bring up whatever you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you in studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Darryl.
And whether it's Uber or the secession movement, we've been talking Texas here tonight. The Texas Secessionists and Austin, Texas, cracking down on Uber and Lyft with a new requirement that their drivers be fingerprinted. Uber and Lyft saying that if that happens, they're likely going to leave the city. That's the summary of what has gone down. There's also, in our neck of the woods up here in New Hampshire, there's an Uber-related meeting happening right now in Portsmouth, and hopefully we'll be hearing from one of the folks from freeuber.org a little bit later on about what transpired there. We're going to go to your phone calls and thoughts, but Darryl, you've got a story that you wanted to share about private policing happening in some areas of Seattle. I do want to hear more about that, but first, let's go to the phones and the fun where Tom is on the line in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, it's about Christie, the governor of New Jersey that's running for president. He was in Pelham, New Hampshire. This afternoon, I stopped by there. I'll tell you what happened, but I would also like to give out 2 pointers after I'm done narrating what took place there.
Okay.
I use the usual procedure. Is the second that it opens up to questions, shoot my hand straight up, and I got called on. And I said, Governor, on September 12, 2006, Syrian security forces repelled an attack on the U.S. Embassy in Damascus. And after the White House spokesman Tony Snow issued a statement thanking them for doing a good job, their Syrian embassy in Washington released a reply blaming U.S. actions in Iraq, Lebanon, and the Palestinian territories for the rise of violent Islamic jihadism.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, Governor, the war in Iraq was started just so Vice President Cheney's friends at Halliburton could make money off the oil. What are you going to do to stop these provocations that have been fueling the rise of violent Islamic jihadism?
They actually let you ask a question that was that long and involved?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
He's totally in denial, by the way, about any wrongdoing. And the people you could hear the people in the room. This was at the VFW, mind you, gasping at the very idea that they went over there and slaughtered all those people just so Vice President Cheney's friends at Halliburton could get rich off the oil, just because it's true. Anyway, he's totally in denial. I forget the three adjectives, but absolutely and completely disagree with the premise. And that's when they clapped him.
Yeah, he had to drown you out.
You know, they clap him, and he goes on saying that the president believes that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. He made the miscue of saying that Saddam Hussein had used chemical weapons against his own people. Okay, that's a miscue because those aren't his own people. See, those are each person is a sovereign individual. Okay, he doesn't own those people. But that was, and he goes on yada yada, and so he said he totally respects not only my opinion, because he could tell that I believe it. He's just totally opposite to agreeing with it, and that's what this debate and free speech stuff is all about. And now a couple of pointers here. If you go to these things, okay, everybody knows when you're going through airport security, it's not the time to be making any stupid wisecracks about how you're going to be hijacking the plane.
Sure.
Similarly, if you go to these events, definitely you don't go making any stupid wisecracks about how you're going to assassinate the candidate.
Yep,
okay?
that'd be a bad idea.
Yeah, because people know because their mother told them not to do that when you're going through airport security, but maybe nobody told them about this here. So you definitely don't do that. And the other thing you definitely don't do is assassinate the candidate, because look at what, like Bobby Kennedy, terrible candidate, got assassinated, and who gets elected? Somebody even worse, Richard Nixon. And even if it's a really terrible candidate, even if it's the worst one, all they're doing is babbling and scribbling.
Well, I'm glad to hear you finally coming around to the idea that violence doesn't solve problems. Thanks for the call. Oh, wait, before you go on, Tom, did they have Secret Service at the Chris Christie thing?
The police were there. Now, by the way, I was about to say it's the cops that are the enemy, not the politicians.
Well,
but
I think you'll find that using violence against the police will also have unintended consequences. Thanks for the call tonight. They actually had the Secret Service at the Ben Carson event here in New
There's
Hampshire.
not that many candidates at this point that have the Secret Service protection.
Is there a certain percentage in the polls that they get before they're offered it?
It's completely arbitrary.
I see.
Completely arbitrary.
So I almost got arrested just for simply trying to figure out where the secure zone was around Ben Carson. I couldn't get anywhere near that guy with a question. But you're right, Darryl. You had suggested that if one wants to question these politicians, they should actually go into the event, and they'll have the opportunity in a lot of cases there. And you have done that, as a matter of fact. It's something you can do here in New Hampshire fairly easily, because New Hampshire is the first primary in the country, and so a lot of these political candidates spend time here, an inordinate amount of time in New Hampshire. Some of them will come to one area more than once. So Bernie Sanders has come to Keene twice now, and one time we actually did a pretty good job of cornering him with some questions on the way into the building. And actually more on the way out than on the way in.
I got him on the way in.
Yep.
And then I went to the gym because I had better things to do.
Right.
And you and a few others hung around for like 2 hours and questioned him on the way out. Yep. And he yelled at you and said you were being childish or something.
Right. And then so you can do that here because they're pretty accessible. Most of them are. Once the Secret Service gets involved, then it makes things a little bit more difficult. I don't think the Keene police have the same ability to set up secure perimeters on public property like school campuses, but the Secret Service appears to be able to just set them up wherever the hell they want to. They took over the state house here in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago when it was the filing deadline for presidential candidates. And so because some presidential Carson or whoever was coming they locked down the state house and were searching people for weapons, which normally you don't do that in the state house. Normally you can have a weapon in the state house. It's not a problem. But in this case, the Secret Service somehow just overrided that because federal control and no states' rights.
That's why we need to secede.
It's one reason why we need to secede. Absolutely. Charlie is on the line in Arizona listening to K-Talks. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Ian. How easy is it to get a misdemeanor?
Super easy.
I had a chihuahua that got loose, and when the dog cop brought the creature back on this huge rope, and said that she was either going to take it to jail or I had to accept a ticket. I took the ticket because I liked the little booger. But
they were going to take your dog to jail?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, doggy jail. But I took the ticket, and I know it was a misdemeanor because it said so on there with fines and jail time. And so I fought it in Superior Court.
Huh. How'd you do?
And I won, but I got to rub their nose in it a little bit. Those little novelty handcuffs that fit on your thumb. I actually got the judge to submit into evidence a picture of my chihuahua in handcuffs. Get it? Dog at large.
Thanks for the call, Charlie. I appreciate it. So what he was pointing out there is just by simply having your dog escape is a misdemeanor charge there, apparently in Arizona.
Ridiculous.
And, of course, most people are not of the gumption to take something to court.
Right.
They are intimidated by that process.
I want to make it go away.
Right.
Here's money, make it go away.
That's the problem, though. The problem is, though, it doesn't go away because then you've got a misdemeanor conviction on your rap sheet. And then when Uber does a background check on you in a place like Austin, Texas, or Portsmouth, if they get their way, then that would require that you not get a job with them because your dog got out at some point, and that somehow makes you ineligible to drive someone from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. How would private police handle an escaped dog? I bet you they'd do it with a lot more compassion. We'll find out what's going on in Seattle with some private police in moments on Free Talk Live.
Bloated belly? Gas? Acid reflux? You could have pounds of rotting, rancid, toxic gunk clogging up your gut right now. And with all the processed food we're exposed to today, it's no wonder why. Fortunately, there's New Biotics, our first ever gunk buster for cleansing that toxic gunk out of your body. And right now, we're giving away a free trial to anyone who calls the following toll-free number, 1-800-983-2573. Strict limit of 1 free trial per household. With pounds of toxic gunk clogging up your gut, it's no wonder you don't feel good. Made with natural ingredients, New Biotics is our first ever gunk buster scientifically designed to unclog your gut and cleanse that gunk from your body, flattening your belly and combating periodic bloating, excess gas, heartburn, and acid reflux. But hurry, call now for your free trial of New Biotics while we're still giving it away for free. 1-800-983-2573. Call now for details. 1-800-983-2573. That's 1-800-983-2573.
Concerned about harmful contaminants in your water? Look to ProPure, the most trusted name in gravity water filtration systems. ProPure, with the silver-infused Pro 1 G 2.0 filter, removes over 200 contaminants, including VOCs, heavy metals, chloramines, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, fluorides, and radiologicals. We don't just say it, we back it up. The Pro 1 G 2.0 filter is NSF 42 certified and independently tested to meet NSF 53 and P231 standards. Pro Pure Water, the way nature meant it to be. Clean, crisp, and refreshing. Purchase with confidence in quality, performance, and customer service. Take advantage of our biggest holiday 25% off sale going on now. Visit your authorized Pro Pure dealer or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com. Or call
Call 800-544-3533. 800-544-3533.
Researchers at Princeton University's Department of Sociology have made a major leap in our understanding of social interaction.
We conducted trials in 90 supermarkets across the country and found that essentially 100% of people disapproved of having a stranger hit them across the face and then expose their genitalia right in the middle of the supermarket, which we found very interesting.
Researchers observed similar reactions when the subject hurled shopping carts toward unsuspecting shoppers, stood in the deli section rubbing cold cuts against his chest, or got right near cashier's ears and began loudly singing Yankee Doodle.
In this particular trial, we had our subject, Kevin, take off his shirt, tape a banana to his forehead, and charge at various shoppers like he was a rhino. Within 20 minutes, store owners called the police and he was arrested, allowing us to come to the conclusion that this type of behavior is still considered at least somewhat taboo.
This is the Onion News Network.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin. mymagicmud.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us here on the radio waves. 855-450-FREE is our number. That's 855-450-3733, whether it's Secession or the crackdown on Uber, wherever you live. I mean, we just talked about Austin and a little bit about Portsmouth, New Hampshire tonight. Austin, Texas, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Those are two of the cities that are in the news, but I bet if you just search for Uber on Google News, you'll find a bunch of different situations, legal situations they've been involved in. We've actually got Christopher David, who's going to be joining us here shortly. And then when we get a chance, we'll talk about private policing in some areas of Seattle. Definitely interested in hearing more about that. Also want to invite you to freetalklive.com. Please enjoy the features you'll find waiting there. They are completely free at freetalklive.com. Let's go to Christopher David on the line in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I believe either fresh out of the city council meeting or maybe stepped away from the city council meeting. What's going on out there, Chris?
Yeah, just taking a break from the meeting. The public hearing just wrapped up. This is the final meeting of the year, the final meeting of this current council, and they are debating whether or not to pass these amendments that Uber has requested to the transportation ordinance in order to be able to operate here legally. The speakers who came out, I mean, Uber, this is one of the first meetings in months that Uber has put out their own blast to their members to come out and support the changes that they requested. So, you know, lots of people were here, probably about 2 or 3 to 1 ratio of the speakers were pro-Uber compared to anti. A lot of happy customers and users. And the hearing just wrapped up. Uber Grandma was one of the speakers. I was one of the speakers. An attorney from Uber was one of the speakers. So we'll have the results of the vote, whether or not they choose to make Uber legal or not.
And the proposal, just to clarify, we were talking about this earlier. The proposal on the table from Uber is essentially to allow them to just handle their own to handle their own background checks, or like to reduce the requirements or to reduce the strictures, if you will, because right now the city of Portsmouth is saying if you have a misdemeanor within 7 years, then you can't drive for Uber.
Yeah, there's a couple of changes they're requesting. One of them relates to misdemeanors. One of them relates to, like, right now the city is asking Uber drivers to be background checked searching back 15 years for felony. Well, there's a New Hampshire state statute that says you can't kick back further than 7 years. So it's just stupid to ask them to go back 15. One of Uber supporters stood up and said, "Hey, just for some context, I have a secret security clearance with the U.S. Department of Defense, and it only goes back 10 years. You guys are asking for 15 for." So just that minor stuff to Uber, so Uber can comply with its existing ordinance. But we think that at least maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 of the amendments get passed. But if this does not get passed, all 3 of them, then I fully expect Uber to just kind of wait it out and say, look, there's one of the points that I made was that this commissioned by the governor, the study committee, just introduced a legislative services request to regulate Uber at the state level. We don't have the bill text of that yet, but that's going to go into place in July or maybe as late as January, that this is going to be overriding every local regulation. So the fight after this Portsmouth thing is really just going to transition to the state level.
Interesting. And hopefully that whatever those proposed regulations are won't be successful, or maybe you can actually have them amended to basically deregulate the taxi business. That would be a nice way to sort of turn the tables on them.
They did something similar in Colorado where they created a taxi networking something, and even though it's still using the term taxi, it's supposed to only cover the rideshare sort of things, but it's a very loose regulation, if you will, that doesn't really regulate them at all other than to say that they're allowed to operate.
Right.
So hopefully whatever got filed here in New Hampshire is something similar.
Well, it didn't sound like it.
We can't. Right, but we don't have the bill text.
Right. Yeah, we haven't
So
read
just
that
because it says, an act relative to ride-sharing services.
It's not too late to file stuff? I thought there was
No,
the
it's
deadline for that.
The deadline has passed, but the text hasn't been made available for everything.
I see. So, Chris, there was a news story recently that we covered here on Free Talk Live, I think it was a few days ago, about one of the local taxi cab owners out there, John Palrero or something like that. How do you pronounce his last name? Palrero. Okay, thank you. John Palrero, one of the taxi cab owners who is threatening to not service customers on New Year's Eve, likely one of the busiest nights for taking people who are drunk home. And he's doing this in protest of what he claims the city not cracking down hard enough on Uber drivers. He also suggested to them that they sue Uber, basically. They get an injunction from a court, and apparently they took him seriously. Some city commission voted in favor that the city council should ask the city to go to court to have an injunction placed against Uber to stop their app from working in Portsmouth. What's the status of that? Is that being heard tonight too at the council meeting?
Yes. The threat itself is certainly credible because he actually did that, followed through with that back in Thanksgiving Eve. He actually got together with a number of the taxi companies and pulled the tabs out from Portsmouth to Dover, resulting in these 4x Uber surge rates, and people complained. And then he complained to the council about, it took customers $82 to get from point A to point B and all of this stuff. Well, this threat now that he's made in the Portsmouth Herald to try to put some pressure on it, it's something that at least we can now plan around and hey guys, who wants to work and make more money on January 1st? We put the message out to our little group of 40 plus Uber drivers, hey guys, come on out. There's going to be more work, and hey John, any other night you want to take off, just let us know.
But what about the suit that he had proposed and that apparently a city council committee voted in favor of? Presumably that'll be in front of the council, if not tonight, it'll be soon, right? Do you know about that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You had heard about it, though, yes?
No.
Check that article, the one about John Palrero. check that article, because that's where it mentions that there is some committee, I don't know who it was, maybe it was the Taxi Regulatory Committee or whatever they call themselves out there, but some committee had voted for a suit to be brought that would essentially ask for a judge to issue an injunction against Uber, because right now, even though it's not legal for Uber drivers to drive in Portsmouth, Uber itself is continuing to allow them to drive, meaning that, when you log into the app, it'll show you, and, people can, hail you. They can.
How dare you allow your web application to work in our jurisdiction?
Yeah, they're going to try to stop that, is I think one of the more interesting developments that's been happening out there. Chris, David, folks can go to freeuber.org to follow along with what's going on out there, right?
Yep. We'll post updates on freekeen.com as soon as we know what the vote result is.
Awesome. Thanks for the call tonight, man. Appreciate all the work out there.
Take care, guys.
Christopher David from freeuber.org and freekeen.com. Our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE, whether you want to weigh in on the developing Uber situation or tell us about what's going on in your city. You can also take control of the airwaves and bring up anything on Free Talk Live.
If you or someone you care about loves outdoor adventure, then check out slingbow.com for some unique holiday gift ideas. That's slingbow.com, where we have some innovative new products for the archer, hunter, or bow fishing enthusiast in your family. Now through January, use the promo code HOLIDAY to get free shipping in the U.S. or Canada. And from all of us at Slingbow Industries, have a safe, joyous, and peaceful holiday season. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 85% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. If you're a regular reader of freekeene.com, you know there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. Ross Ulbricht was convicted in early 2015 of running the infamous Silk Road Underground Market. The Silk Road was a gift to humanity and helped reduce the harms brought on by drug prohibition. For this good deed, Ross has been sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole. Now, an appeal is Ross's only chance, and he needs your support. Please visit freeross.org, where you can contribute via various methods, including Bitcoin. Visit freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, the road to freedom. A a film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. Join us here on the radio waves. Toll free, 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
And Darryl.
And we'll continue here, not on the Uber topic, but moving to private police. Although if you do want to call about Uber or Lyft or regulating them out of business, you're welcome to do that. Private police have been apparently proposed and approached in some areas of Seattle. Tell me about it.
Yeah, and actually it's more than just a proposal. It's actually happening.
Ooh.
The story from mynorthwest.com says a Seattle neighborhood is joining a trend of communities buying additional security after growing frustration with slow police response. One resident of a neighborhood of Seattle called Magnolia, Joe Villarino, says it's not a hot area. It's a really safe neighborhood, but we always get hit with property crimes, which is a low priority call for the Seattle Police Department. Like burglaries, car prowls, break-ins, those things are not as serious as a shooting or an assault. But those sorts of crimes are a priority for Magnolia residents, so they found their own solution. Magnolia joined other Seattle neighborhoods that hire their own security force to supplement police presence. The first patrols
so
began December 4th.
They're not replacing the police.
Well, essentially they are, because the police are not responding.
Okay, so if a private cop does respond instead of the cop, I guess that is in that instance a replacement. Okay,
Right.
I see that.
A passing conversation, or rather, the first patrol began December 4th after nearly a year of planning. A passing conversation about Magnolia crime at his local Starbucks inspired Villarino to organize a community gathering at a local church to discuss the issue and gauge interest. He says, word got out pretty quickly. By that time, I got over 300 people in the room, which I did not anticipate. Ultimately, the Magnolia Community Patrol was born. Residents voluntarily pay $250 per year, which goes into a pool to pay for a mix of off-duty police officers or private security. A local company, Central Protection, provides the private security. The entire neighborhood is covered regardless of which neighbors pay and which ones do not.
Interesting.
But those that do pay the $250 get perks.
Sure.
Security, either, again, off-duty police or private security personnel, will check on their homes if they're gone on vacation.
That's a perk.
They also take care of packages delivered to the homes so they aren't left and, might entice a thief.
Really?
If there's a package left on your front porch and you're on vacation.
Oh, during vacation. Okay, gotcha.
That might entice a thief to come.
I thought
packages.
I thought what you were saying that was all the time. I didn't realize that was only during vacation.
Right. So
Okay.
they'll check on the homes while you're on vacation.
Got it.
And if packages are delivered, they will pick those up.
Okay.
Villarino says, we know that police officers are more reactive and private security is more proactive. Just getting people out there will decrease property crimes. We see that in the other models of neighborhood patrols. And just completely off of this story, we've known about these private security, the proactive private security for some time, ever since Pete Eyre went and spoke with the guy in Detroit, the threat management system.
Threat management center. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do something very similar in Detroit, and that was born out of, police
Failure.
aren't responding. Police are only Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 now because of budget cuts.
Police are arresting the wrong person when they arrive. That kind of thing. Actually looking here, Darryl, at Wikipedia has an article about Magnolia. This is the second largest neighborhood of Seattle, and it has 19,000 people living in it. So, I mean, this isn't just like a gated neighborhood. This is a big swath of territory in the city of
Basically,
Seattle.
This is the city of Keene as part of Seattle, Washington.
Yeah, essentially. And so I find myself wondering, and I don't know if your story goes into it. What's the source on this? I don't know if you mentioned it.
MyNorthwest.com.
I want to know, what is the breakdown? They say here there's 4,828 families and 9,000 households in this particular area. So of the 9,000 plus households, what percentage of them have ponied up the $250 that they're requiring or they're asking for in order to provide the service? Because you did say that people who don't pay are going to be protected as well as the people who do pay.
Right, because the security, basically it's security. They're patrolling the entire neighborhood. They're not just going to like close their eyes while they drive by the house that hasn't paid.
Well, and this is always one of the big objections, I think, and rightfully so. It's an understandable objection when liberty-minded people start talking about marketizing the police, getting the government out of policing or protection services and having the marketplace handle that. One of the immediate objections is, well, what about the free riders? What about the people who don't want to pay for that particular protection service? They either don't care, they want to take the risk themselves, or they want to hire another service or whatever.
People will often point to anomalies such as the guy down in Tennessee several years ago had not paid the fire fee. His neighbor's house caught on fire. Fire department comes out. They're putting out the neighbor's house. Some of the flames jump over, catch his house on fire. He says, I'll pay you whatever, put out the fire. They said, no. And people were pointing, see, this shows the free market doesn't work. It wasn't a private fire department. It was the city-run fire department. If it was a private fire department, they'd have said, okay, $50,000. Or they would have given you a number.
Yeah.
Private company will give you a number because they don't want the bad publicity.
Yeah, that's true.
City fire department, they don't care.
I remember that story.
So, no, that was not a failing of the free market. That was a failing of centralization and government fire department.
That was a we'll show him for not paying our fire fees.
Yeah.
So, but does it say at all in this story what the breakdown is? Because to me, that's a very interesting question is, of 9,000 households, and how it is there's 4,828 families in 9,000 households, I find confusing. How do you define a family? Does that include like grandma and grandpa? Like, is there more than one? Like, what do you define as a family?
Family generally would be something other than a one-bedroom apartment. Like, if you're living in an apartment by your house, or even living in a household by your house. So one person does not a family make.
So a household could include a single apartment, is the idea then. Okay, got it. That makes more sense to me then.
Right. So you have a household, but you don't necessarily have a family in the household.
I wonder if the $250 applies to houses or also apartments. Like, do people with does someone with a big house have to pay $250, and somebody with a studio apartment also have to pay $250? I wonder about that.
That's what it doesn't specify necessarily, and I'm scrolling through the article
and nothing jumping out about how many people.
Jumping out about rates of people that are paying.
Well, whatever it is, obviously it was enough, right? So this is happening. This isn't some proposal. They brought some neighbors together. They proposed this idea. Somehow they communicated the idea to 19,000 people in this area. I'm not sure how they did that. Was it direct mail? I mean, I'm interested in knowing like the details of exactly how this came about, because I think it's fascinating.
And Magnolia, again, they're not the only neighborhood in Seattle. And they were not the first neighborhood in Seattle to hire private security to basically supplement the police. The story here says it's a model, or rather, Magnolia modeled its patrol from other Seattle neighborhoods, such as Laurelhurst, Windermere, and Whittier Heights, all of which have residents that pay for additional security. We call it the Seattle way, says Brad Renton, the president of the Whittier Heights Patrol Association.
I want to hear more. We'll get into it. 855-450-FREE is our number. Maybe you live in an area with private police protection, and you want to tell us what it's like. I don't imagine too many people do, but I'm fascinated by it. 855-450-FREE. You can join us here. It's Free Talk Live.
You can control your health care with Liberty Health Share.
Liberty Health Share is like-minded people coming together to share medical costs, which saves money.
You don't even have to pay for procedures that violate your conscience.
Because we all share the same values.
Join the movement of people who share in medical costs and change the way you pay for your health care forever.
Go to libertyhealthshare.org to find out more.
Liberty Health Share.
Together, we're changing healthcare for good. libertyhealthshare.org.
Are you searching for your soulmate? Someone you can trust, who will never betray you, or cooperate with the NSA? Stop searching. With EasyDNS, you found a keeper. EasyDNS does it all. Domain names, web hosting, and managed WordPress hosting. EasyDNS stands up for your internet freedom, and with servers in Canada, they do not cooperate with the NSA. Go to EasyDNS.com. You'll love their services or get a full refund. They guarantee it. And they accept Bitcoin. That's EasyDNS.com.
Did you know that home break-ins increase more than 100% during the holidays? It takes just 10 seconds for an intruder to kick in your door, but police response to a home alarm system is more than 20 minutes, and intruders are in and out of your home in 5 minutes. Thieves know that you're not home and have presents inside just waiting to be taken. And if you are home, how safe will you feel with an intruder lurking inside with your family? That's why police across the country are recommending you use Door Armor. Proven to withstand the force of a battering ram, Door Armor keeps intruders out. It's easy to install and barely visible, and your Door Armor is guaranteed for life. Go to InvasionStopper.com for a very special buy one, get one at half-off deal. These savings are for a limited time and only available to GCN listeners. Protect your valuables and loved ones this holiday season. Go to InvasionStopper.com now. That's InvasionStopper.com.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. We're talking about private police. And it's happening. in various different places. We're talking specifically about Magnolia, Seattle. It's a neighborhood, a large neighborhood. I don't know how you define neighborhoods, but in this case, they have defined Magnolia to be approximately 20,000 people.
Neighborhoods of cities are generally defined by some sort of city charter sort of thing.
Oh, really? It's
so,
a
like here
city-level
in
thing.
Keene, we've got 5 different wards.
Yep.
So in Seattle, they probably, instead of calling them wards, they're officially neighborhoods.
Yeah, I guess, when I was growing up in Florida, in the suburbs, there was like obvious neighborhoods because they have walls around them and things like that. So anyway, this is a big neighborhood, and they are hiring private security, private police, basically, including some off-duty police officers.
Yes.
There's a private company that's facilitating this. They've asked the homeowners to pay $250 per year for the coverage.
Right, which is,
It's
what,
reasonable.
$20 a month, basically?
Yeah, it's less than $1 a day. To have some sort of private protection force on call, basically, and doing more than being on call, actually patrolling the streets and keeping an eye out. Like if you are, for instance, on a vacation, keep an eye on your property. If you're one of the paying customers, if you're not a paying customer, then you don't get the perks, the same perks that the paying customers do.
Right.
And
they won't pick up the packages if you don't pay. But if you're paying, they'll pick up your packages for you, and they're still patrolling the neighborhood. And if they see something,
they'll do something.
Then chances are they'll do something. The article continues. It says the off-duty police officers and private security monitor and respond to 911 calls, but they also engage the community. If they see something suspicious, they investigate. Patrols don't cover neighborhoods 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're random, occurring any time of day or any time of night. So they're random throughout the day, but it's not necessarily a constant, 24-hour drive through the neighborhood. Crime in Magnolia and Whittier Heights is sparsely reported by Seattle police compared to other parts of the city. Reports from earlier in December show in Magnolia so far, primarily it's auto thefts and car prowls. There are also some reports of assaults, threats, and property damage. The Seattle crime map does not distinguish between North Seattle neighborhoods, but recent crime in Whittier Heights includes bike theft, assault, robbery, and a dog bite. A handful of car prowls have been reported in Windermere and Laurelhurst so far this month.
What's a car prowl?
That's the one where somebody's just like walking around looking through the windows of all the cars.
Scoping it out.
Can I see anything here?
Gotcha. You ever seen any of the bait videos on YouTube?
I don't think so.
Oh my God, they're so funny. So the some of the pranksters, pranks videos on YouTube range from offensive, like where they're actually doing something that could hurt somebody, or it's kind of a mean prank,
right?
To these pranks, some are just like light and funny, and good times, and all ages kind of pranks. And then there's these bait bike videos, which are just hilarious because they're pranking criminals in this case.
Okay.
And what they'll do is they'll put a bicycle in a park or something like that, or wherever, and they'll just leave it sitting there, and they'll set cameras up, and they're monitoring the bicycle. On one of the videos, they tie a fishing line to the bicycle, so the person who comes up to steal the bike doesn't see the fishing line tied to it. And they get on the bike, and they're like going down a hill, so they put it up at the top of a hill, like leaning against a tree. They start going down a hill, and whack, the bike stops. And they go
that's hilarious.
Flying off of the bike. So they have these bait bike videos, B-A-I-T, bait bikes. And then I was looking at one of the bait bike videos, and I saw a bait car video. So somebody parks their car in some area where car thefts happen, with the windows rolled down. The car is actually cammed up, so there's there's a cam hidden behind the makeup mirror. So they took off the makeup mirror, put a camera behind it, and then did a two-way or a one-way mirror or whatever, so the camera can see through it. And so these hoods get in, and they start looking around for keys and whatever else they can find. And then the dude has some kind of smoke pack or whatever that he sets off remotely, and so poof. All this smoke starts coming out, and this dust gets all over the dude. He's climbing out of the car, and the dude comes up, get on the ground. And he's got a pair of handcuffs. He handcuffs the dude, leaves the guy there handcuffed, and drives off.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, you were talking about car prowlers, and that was a great way to get some of those guys back, I thought.
So one of the guys that's the president of the Whittier Heights Patrol Association, Brad Renton, says that, like Magnolia, property crimes are a chief concern in his neighborhood, and aside from a few troubled spots, it's been totally worth the $250. Ron Smith, who's the Police Guild president, recently told KIRO 2 Friday nights ago, downtown in the West Precinct, which covers the downtown core, Pioneer Square, Magnolia, and Queen Anne, they had 9 police officers working the midnight shift. They had 1 officer covering all of Magnolia and 1 officer covering Queen Anne. And that staffing level is low. He says what's been done over and over throughout the years is somebody will ask how many police officers are assigned to patrol, and they'll shoot out a number that's well in excess of 650. What they're not telling you is that 150 of those are people assigned to patrol, or rather 150 of those people assigned to patrol are not available to answer 911 calls because they're on loan to other assignments. Beyond that, Smith says the Seattle Police Department is understaffed. Similar cities such as Boston have about 1,800 officers. Seattle has 1,250, which is similar to the number of police they had back in the 1970s.
What? And that's actually not, in my opinion, that's a good thing. But I wonder.
But the population of Seattle is not the same as what it was in the 1970s, and the crime levels are not the same as what they were in the 1970s.
I wonder what it would take to have the Magnolia neighborhood basically say, yeah, we don't really want to keep funding you government police. You only put 1 police officer here to patrol the streets, and you're charging us X amount of dollars per year in taxes, and these guys are charging us $250, and they're more present than your officers are. So we're just going to say goodbye to you and withdraw our money from, because you've already got a bunch of households who have been willing to put money towards these alternatives.
Right.
I understand people don't want to do this because they risk losing their home. But if you had that same amount of households gather together who have already gathered together and there's already some level of communication between them, presumably.
I don't know what the procedures are in Washington State for seceding from a municipality and creating a new one.
Well, I was just going to say, protest and stop paying that portion of the taxes. Of course, that puts you at risk from having your home seized. But if we're talking about a few dozen homes or hundreds of homes, in theory, it could be hundreds because Magnolia's got thousands of households in it. If we're talking about hundreds of homes, there's no way they're going to be able to seize all of those homes, especially when some of the same officers who work for that very same police department who would do the seizing are actually being paid by those households. And I think that's an interesting aspect of this, is that it's unlikely the police will attack these particular companies, or this whatever the company was, because they're hiring their officers. So it seems less likely that the Seattle police would take the time to go on the offense and try to trash talk this particular company, because they're actually helping their off-duty officers. Let's go to Tom, listening in Baltimore, and you're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Darryl. Hello, Tom.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And,
about
residents, just individual people, have caught on to your notion of a non-aggression relationship between the police and themselves, not just with a company who's paying their officers like you're talking about, but in Baltimore, for example. Savvy residents, and there are many of them, especially on the borders of different neighborhoods. Say, for instance, where the projects meet up with Little Italy, or where the working class neighborhoods meet up with the neighborhoods that are mostly renters and a lot of unoccupied buildings. Well, you'll have individual residents who are smart come out to the patrol officer, and if they're not affluent, they'll bring him lunch. They'll bring him something to drink. They'll develop a relationship with him because they know that he's probably going to end up hanging out when he does his reports near where they live, and also probably won't attack them, just like you said.
Yeah, if you're creating a relationship with somebody, you're absolutely right about that. And because you're a former cop, there in the Baltimore area. Tom, call us another night. We're out of time for tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow, and you can join us online between now and then over at freetalklive.com. Don't forget Darryl's websites, fpp.cc and fppradio.com. See you tomorrow. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to play online poker with Bitcoin, you need a site that's trustworthy and technically sound. The site managers of swcpoker.eu have proven their commitment to bringing you great gameplay from a site you can trust, swcpoker.eu. They have lots of new games too, including Chinese poker, and their Krill leaderboard is open right now. It's a beautiful site, easy to use with lots of players. Go on over to swcpoker.eu now and have some fun with your Bitcoin. swcpoker.eu. Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
If you're looking for work, you know what I mean by elevator speech. It's the short version, saying just enough to make the listener want to listen more. Even if you're not a job seeker, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. So to cut through the clutter, choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Instead of saying, due to the fact that, say, because. And avoid mispronunciations. Say jewelry, not jewelry, which could offend. Undoubtedly, you don't want to say undoubtedly. And whatever you do, never use a preposition to end a sentence with. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the new Healing Our World is a great gift this Christmas for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm. The latest edition of The Crypto Show is next on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.fm. Get more at thecryptoshow.com.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I have a joke for you. The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
I see it coming. The moment they come is what they
Bitcoin is immune from attack or almost completely. With Bitcoin, you will actually gain far more from using that computing power to generate Bitcoin.
There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for our disappearance. There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for our disappearance.
We'll walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to further limit reckless government spending. I mean, I have so many ideas. Some are simple, like take down traffic lights and eliminate the post office. The bigger ones will be tougher, like bring all of this crumbling to the ground.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Crypto Show, a show dedicated to understanding the promise of currency, and technology, and anarchy in the pursuit of a free society. And if you believe, like we do, that such a society can and should exist, then join us, why don't you, as we parade through a world unbound by convention, a world sketched by the beauty of the human artist. Because each and every one of you listening right now is that artist. So, for the next 2 hours, let go of your most sacred system of thought and entertain the possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything we've been told about currency, technology, and yes, even that dirty little word anarchy is only one part of an ever-expanding, ever-possible, complex universe of ideas, one that we simply refuse to explore. So what do you say, listeners? Let's do some universe exploring tonight and have some fun while we do it. Trying to catch me riding dirty. Would you believe I ride dirty all the time?
Looking at your shirt, I would say so.
What do you say? Hey, it's the end of the weekend. Give me a break, okay? It's Sunday. It's a day where maybe I'm a little